Guys, we're going to start.
Okay.
Politics.
John, all right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the investing group. We'll start off with a disclaimer. None of this is financial advice. Please invest at your own risk. And should we just start by going around the room, introducing ourselves? All right, Mario.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Mario Sanchez. Running all of our recording platforms tonight, and my background is in architecture, so not finance, but talking to the diversification.
My name is Victor Sanchez, one of the co-founders of this group. Just creating an environment to share ideas, learn something new. So excited to be here and excited to see a couple new faces today.
So, hello everyone, my name is Mohammed. I am from a legal and healthcare background, but I've been coming in for a while. I'm a incoming 1L at the University of Illinois, but I love talking about trades, talking about investing, and so this has really helped me educate myself further. I look forward to our conversations.
And I'm John, and what he just said is true of me as well. I love having this conversation. I love seeing the young faces, and I apologize ahead of time for being the lowest IQ in the room. I marvel at what you guys are bringing to the table, and I'm here to learn from you.
My name's Toby. I'm recently graduated from Chicago. I'm here and I'm excited to learn.
My name is Roberto. I'm a recent UIC grad working at Northern Trust Asset Management. I like investing and look forward to learning.
I'm John Donners, work in transportation, but know a lot of these guys from UIC, and then took Eric up on the offer to check this out, trying to learn. I know a little bit about municipal finance. I do a lot of that work for my job, but trying to learn more about actual trading, things like that. And I'm a member of the club and on the membership committee.
Hello, my name is Artur Koslowski. I'm a law student at Notre Dame and currently a 7-Eleven law clerk for the Cook County State Attorney's Office. Not here to prosecute the white-collar crimes in Bronx. But yeah, I was invited by Mohammed, so happy to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Sneha. I'm a current MBA student in finance at UIC. Like John here, I took Eric up on the offer to join this, and I think I've learned more than I have in previous years here ever. So continuously looking forward to learning from all of you.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel. So I'm currently a university professor in physical science. I work for a hedge fund and I'm also consulting for a hedge fund.
Hi, I'm Daniel. My background is in healthcare technology. I've done a couple of healthcare related startups. I now tend to invest in healthcare related startups, but I'm basically here to learn about how to invest my portfolio in the stock market, see how you guys are doing.
And how did you hear about our group?
Through other members of the club. Yeah. I'm a member of the Union League.
Oh, you are? Very good. Thanks.
I'm Seamus Cullinan. I'm an incoming sophomore at UIC, and I'm a sector leader at the portfolio management team, which was started by Eric and Victor.
You guys want to?
Yeah. My name is Moses, recent grad from UIC in finance. Here to learn, contribute to the conversation whenever I can, and just mainly learn from you guys.
Hey everyone, I'm Quinn. I'm also a recent graduate of finance from UIC. Very involved in the portfolio management team during my time. I absolutely love the stock market, trading, investing, Warren Buffett, and everything else, everything in between, because there's a lot in between these days. But I'll also be taking some photos today, so just act normal. continue conversing in the normal way. The photos usually turn pretty well, but I take a good number of them and then choose the best ones. So try to get everybody.
What are you doing with the photos, Quinn?
They're promotional purposes, primarily LinkedIn, but also Instagram, maybe some thumbnails for videos, and then maybe down the line, further marketing materials. Yeah.
My name's Al. I'm going to say the same thing I say every time, probably will continue saying. I love this group. There's a lot of great ideas here, a lot of smart people, and it's probably one of the highest value things you can spend your time on. That's why I come here. And I do stats at U of I, and I got in here through Eric as well.
Hi, my name is Deep. I'm also a recent master's graduate from UIC, master's in finance, and looking forward to learn more through the practical experiences.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caleb. I am a recent UIC graduate as well. This is my second meeting. I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm excited to continue to learn.
My name is Eric Simpson, and with John and Victor, we started this investing group. I trade full-time, been doing this for over a decade. A lot of you know I started the group at UIC and just continuing a lot of the same stuff, just more of an open discussion format, and we're just having fun with this. All right, you guys ready? All right, so we're gonna start off with, like we have the past couple meetings, some small micro cap trading action, the fun stuff. So this is a notable mover. It's called SDOT Group, SDOT, that's the ticker. Some of us in the Discord traded this thing. Some good trades, some bad trades, but you know, this thing's just pretty nuts. I just want to show like how crazy this can get. And you know, so in May into start of June, it was at like $2 a share, and then it ramped up. I don't know on what news, hit 40, and then kind of just faded back down to single digits, and then over a number of days from late June up until start of July, it went from single digits and eventually hit over $100 a share, and then immediately crashed last Friday or Thursday back to 50. Now it's at like 40, 50 or something like that. So, you know, just some more crazy action. Let me just double check what they're all about. Okay, supply chain solutions, agri commodity sourcing, soybean, meal, wheat, corn, farm operations, including producing grains and tree crops in Southern Africa. Okay. Formerly known as Muscle Maker, changed its name to SDOT. Okay, yeah. So a lot of these small cap dilution scams, not actually scams, but you know, kind of scams if you're a shareholder. They like to change their tickers and their names every few years. That's just how it goes. So they can keep running their free ATM machine, do a secondary offering, raise cash, pay their own salaries, and do absolutely nothing with it, or do little with it. You know, that's just how it goes. And there's several hundred companies like this that exists in the stock market. And, you know, this is why there's edge if you trade small caps, short or long, but you got to be careful because they can do crazy moves like this. So just goes to show that, you know, in small mid cap land, there's always stuff like this every day, crazy movers. And so with the PDT, pattern day trading removal, I think that it's probably just going to be more of this crazy action for a while. Any questions on this before we move on to our main topics?
What's the market cap now?
The market cap, let's see, Yahoo Finance, I don't know if it's accurate, but about 49 million. So, you know, it was 2 million at its bottom. You traded this too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were trading this. We were having fun with this.
It was a multi-day runner.
Yeah, like every single day it would show something, and then sometimes it would move, sometimes it would randomly crash. It was a tricky one. Yeah, fun stuff. All right, so anyone else? Okay, let's move on to Iran, even though it's like, I'm not gonna say it's a non-issue, it's just market-wise, it's kind of like we're getting past it. Let's just look at the latest updates. Okay, they're having a funeral for the supreme leader. Oh, this just happened?
They did, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so yesterday.
just now. Didn't he die back in, he was killed back when? Like,
Yeah, he died
Okay.
3 months ago.
But now they're having a funeral. Okay,
official
well.
ceremony yesterday.
All right. Okay, so they had the funeral. Okay, the succession mystery is deepening. 3 of his sons made an appearance. Okay, no sign of his successor. Another one of his sons, right? Okay, he may have been wounded in the airstrikes. Okay, lots of unknowns here. Interesting. Hormuz fee fight is the market relevant flashpoint. This is the piece most likely to matter. Okay. Yes, so they've been negotiating. Okay, they signed something June 17th. requires Iran to reopen the strait with no charge for 60 days only, but Iranian officials have insisted ever since that they'll collect service fees, while Trump says the strait will be permanently toll-free and advance its, okay, so lots of back and forth here. Seems like the market though has basically been pricing this in. We go to like present time. Zoom out. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much this was the Iran stuff, and now we've run into maybe some flatness, but it is basically past it. So,
Eric, can you superimpose the price of oil over that chart?
On the S&P, I can, well, I don't know how to do it on this, but I could just show oil over that time. I mean, it was in the hundreds. Now it's back at sub 70, the crude futures. So basically, the market's acting like this is done.
Non-issue.
This is a non-issue. Does anyone have thoughts on this though? On Iran? No. Okay.
I just have my thoughts on why I think the market thinks it's a non-issue.
Right.
I mean, I'm reading that there's projected oversupplies of oil now. Somehow we went from we're gonna run out to now there's gonna be like this huge supply glut that's built up. I think a part of that is just like the demand destruction that's happening. And I look at something like these fees, which don't sound good, but at the end of the day, I mean, that just gets passed down to the consumer, kind of just dissipates, and then long term, obviously, probably destroys the importance of the strait itself over time as people figure out ways to not have to pay that fee and not have to get oil through the strait. So long term, it's probably
okay. What's happening now, according to Claude Fable? So we're going to trust it because it's so good, right? Oil prices are falling everywhere as the U.S.-Iran peace deal unleashes a wave of supply that's overwhelming buyer demand, including a flood of more than 60 million trapped barrels that were frozen in place when the war began. It's a staggering reversal. Less than 3 months ago, the main physical benchmark hit an all-time high, and just weeks ago, industry executives were warning inventories were critically low. For context on how extreme the swing is, Brent, yeah, so it was 107 in May, now it's back down, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's still a chance these sort of things they've signed, this agreement could fall through. You never know, but it seems like everyone wants business to resume as usual. So
highly unlikely that happens before midterms too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of incentives to just get this over with. All right. Anything else on this?
So what's your thoughts about the Chinese demand? Do you feel it will be a permanent decline, or it's more like they would eventually restore the oil?
Sorry, what would you say?
The Chinese demand for the oil. So in the last few months, the balance sheet did not go crazy because the China's demand was somewhat limited. I think it's several million barrels amount. If they have this shift, then the oversupply problem will be different. I mean, the commodity market is unmarginal. Yeah.
Well, let's see what Claude says.
Okay.
I don't really have opinions on this, but
while we're waiting for that, Gabriel, is it true that the China, or maybe I heard China was releasing from their strategic reserves, and that has what stabilized it, right?
Yeah, that's part of the reason. My other concern is that China is shifting to renewable energy very quickly. So with the information provide space for several months, they have lots of new capacity of renewable energy going online. So they also have more electrical cars, hybrid cars online. So I'm trying to figure out whether there's a baseline shift in the oil demand. Yeah.
All right. There should be an inelastic, non-shifting demand because they're just going to need it for plastic products continually.
So do you have a hypothesis that you're trying to test, or I'm just kind of curious, what are you guys doing on this topic, or what are you interested in on this topic?
So for Iran, we just cover it because that's what's in the news. And it is sort of market influential. It has been. But the thing is, lately we've noticed that the market has just not been responding too much. And so when something becomes less of a factor, it just becomes less of a focus. But we still cover it because technically the war's not over.
Right.
And so like just the magnitude, it's either way, whatever it is, it's not a big deal. Like at this point, because the market's forward looking. And so it's largely gotten past this. As far as the China angle, I mean, and this is why I just defer to Claude on something like this, because it's not like the main focus here. But okay, it says China's crude imports have collapsed through the war. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Let's try to get us some of this. Okay. The bearish thesis, China's not coming back in size. Okay. Middle Eastern crude has flipped into contango. Brent broke below 75. All right. Contrarian read, the market's tighter than it looks. All right. Cyclically, China's oil restocking bid that could show up any month and absorb a chunk of the glut. All right. Worth watching. Chinese term nominations. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion. But it's a matter of, I mean, I think things will just probably resume to their normal output eventually. Like if the strait opens back up, right, Al?
Did you ask it how large its reserves are and like how long it can keep running this lower demand?
The Chinese reserves?
Yeah. We do not have lots of transparent information from China.
Like that. Okay.
Yeah, the reason I care about this is it's sort of tied to the inflation risk, so that would affect the interest rate as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we actually talked about in previous meetings how I don't want to spend too much time on this, but so yes, we've dealt with inflation. We still have high inflation, but if you're thinking about market weights and market cap weightings, this is not the same market as it was back in the 70s and 80s. It's rate sensitive. We're a big tech market now. And so I think 38%, nearly 40% of the market is tech weighted, driven by the Mag 7 mainly. And then a lot of things are just downstream from that. And so, like I said in the last meeting, this is not like, say, where a big, you have Sears, that's like a big chunk of the market, and then it's very rate sensitive because it's a, thin margin brick and mortar retail or something like that. So although it was brought up that, yes, with the circular financing for the AI buildouts and the borrowing that they're doing for that, so far they were able to pay for it with cash flows mainly, but at some point, they could get into more and more debt. Who knows? That could be an issue. But again, the market is kind of going into a lot of unknowns right now, and we're going into big startup mode. So it's very hard to actually get a hold of the true value. But I would say we're not as rate sensitive as we used to be. But we'll see. All right.
Eric, I had a quick general question. Just in the past, when the war was first kicked off, like how nitty gritty do you guys get with this? Like, did you look at potentially investing in like some of the arms manufacturers and things like that?
Oh yeah, we were looking at drones. We were looking at the Shahed drones, Iranian, the sort of the cost differential, because of in the drone systems and all that. I don't think there's that many public companies that are like really big on drones.
You'd
So
have to
maybe
go
like
downstream from it.
maybe AV or something or Swarmer, but really it's not. Yeah, there's not many big plays there. The war itself, I mean, it was I would say at most for the market, it's kind of like a short, medium term shock. But once you think about like what's affecting market caps, what's the weightings of things, and you realize this is something we would just get over. And so, we're more or less past that. And that's why now Iran's kind of like, I mean, it's still an issue, like, as in, they need to figure out their succession thing, and then the country, how they regroup from that. But like for the market, kind of like, all right, we're back into the whole like AI type of stuff. Okay. All right.
Sorry, can I ask something?
Yes.
Did you have your hand raised first?
Go ahead.
Just considering like what Trump had said yesterday, like during the funeral, he was basically like, it's awful. They're all there, one shot, we can take them all out. Or like we're giving the war a week pause just so they can handle the funeral. So like, given his mindset about this, it doesn't feel over. But
well, with Trump, anything he says can go, you can take it. I mean, he'll say one thing, he'll say a different thing the next day. It's kind of a wild card. And so he's just going to spout stuff. I wouldn't take anything that he says at face value. We know how he operates. But let's think about the incentives here. We have midterms coming up. I think they probably want to get this over with before that. They don't want this, especially the Republican side, they don't want this drawing out into midterms. And so I think they thought they could just get through it without, just no boots on the ground, get it over with within however many weeks they're doing it. And I don't know if that's a success or not. It's still kind of drawing out, but there's not really huge attacks or fighting going on right now. So yeah. All right.
What do you think, like how markets are going to respond if this comes, like all of this thing completely ends?
Well, honestly, because the market prices things in advance, right? So at this point, if it's officially announced, hey, the war is like over for real, you might get a little pop at most, but I don't think it's going to be anything big because we've already sort of reflected that in the prices, it wouldn't be a surprise,
This may not be a real big market discussion issue, but I think who's going to be affected most by Iran and Hormuz is European nations, because they are not net energy producers and they're struggling very much. So if the European Union is suffering as much as as we think it is, a dissolution of the EU or people pulling out of the EU, these would be big disruptors to the market, and it could happen at any time. I just wanted to table that because I think the discussion is not about China. China's taking care of themselves, and they're only getting a portion of what they wanted out of the Middle East. So this is a much more worldwide crisis. We're not feeling it. China's not feeling it. Russia, I'm not sure. They got their own, reserves and they're doing their own thing. The big players are not really at risk here. It's the smaller ones. And there's a lot of smaller ones that the stock market, that are stocks in our marketplace, right? So that's something we want to keep our eye on. It's not being covered in the news because the liberal American news doesn't care about that kind of stuff. They want sensationalism. But we've got to dig a little deeper about things like that.
All right. So anything more in this Iran, China, anything like that? All right. So let's get back to AI. Fable and mythos. Just got restored. Who's using, we asked last meeting, who's using Claude? Most of you, right? Claude Fable, Claude Max, yes. All right. Have you noticed a difference, like using Fable versus Opus 4.8?
I'm not using Fable.
Okay.
Substantial difference.
Yes.
They cut lots of functionalities. It's in some areas no longer as fantastic as before. I would say in some areas even worse than the current SONET model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone else using Fable extensively?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there is that whole. The government kind of stepped in because there may have been some kind of jailbreak. Maybe it was Amazon involved. And so they limited access to Fable and Mythos, or they suspended access. Initially, it was for non-US nationals, and then they just did it for everybody, but then it kind of came back. And I think we even went over like the prediction markets for it, which were kind of pricing in that, hey, it would be restored. So now it's back. And now just we can use our advanced models for stuff and see where it goes from there. But you know, this is kind of going with that whole Aschenbrenner thesis we were talking about, how things are getting more. I don't know if this is a perfect example, but you know, things getting more nationalized. The government's taking control of more stuff just because now things, they're so powerful. There's a lot of security issues involved. And this is kind of like laid out by Leopold Aschenbrenner in his whole manifesto in 2024. And so this is just kind of the inevitable. And then I think, I don't know, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I think Alex Karp of Palantir went on some rant again. Was it about this? Did anyone see that? Yeah. Do you know what he was saying exactly? It's hard to decipher what he says, but yeah.
It seems like a Palantir kind of like rebranding, or like just like a different promoting campaign. He kind of was in support of, I guess like, I don't know, it was interesting. I'm not really very familiar with it, but he was very much promoting Palantir's ontology. So it seems like whatever he was now advocating for is aligned with increasing Palantir's earnings. That's just kind of the vibe I got off of like watching 5 minutes of it. But yeah,
I think the thesis, his thesis, is that current models that are built with customer data are not going to be the best way for a customer to add value, right? So, or to get value. So if he was saying, don't look at Anthropic and Gemini and these kinds of models, because they're just building something that's good for them, but they're not good for you as the customer. Instead, use Palantir's ontologies, because now you're using tools that enable you to own your data and essentially leverage models without losing control of your data. So he was making the argument that Palantir was better, specifically because you as his customer own your data, versus if you're a customer of Anthropic or some other group, they own your data. That was his thesis. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think that's what he was trying to get across.
Yeah, I also want to add a note on that. So this week there's maybe last week, there's a report from Bridgewaters. It's a major hedge fund company. They published the results saying, well, like if you tailor this open source model from China, then the score for their particular application, the finance application, can be higher than the general purpose models from OpenAI and other agencies. Yeah, so it's consistent with what you just mentioned.
Right. Yeah. So from an investing standpoint, what do you guys think this means? More defense, more cybersecurity, you know?
I think Palantir got a big boost.
Yeah, let's see what Palantir.
After that discussion, I think they took a.
They had been hit. The whole
Just keep ignoring this.
Yeah. So, I mean, this stock is basically impossible to value. You can't use any traditional measure for valuing this thing, but it has been hit hard. Their growth rates are pretty amazing, even though they're trading at, you know, historically insane multiples. It's a question of, can they put this growth up and grow into those valuations? I mean, you know, it's either you believe in it or you don't. So, but I think in terms of just, yeah, the monopoly they have, the importance, the defense angle, security angle, the nationalizing of AI and all, I mean, how everything's scaling, I'd say it's one of those things you're probably fine with as long as you can deal with the insane drawdowns, volatility. But who owns Palantir stock? Who's a strong believer? Okay, Mario, yeah, you want to?
A believer in the technology or a believer in the stock?
Yeah.
I think they're on the right track with their technology. I think it's overpriced.
Yes.
I mean, I think they were well positioned before the big introduction of AI.
Yeah.
And they're still really well positioned after it. So I think Clark just seems to know what he's doing, as crazy as he sounds sometimes. So I don't know. I think a big part of the stock getting beaten down is kind of just wrapped into the whole SaaS apocalypse. They technically fall into that category. But I don't know. I mean, even at 150 times earnings, that's relatively cheap compared to how it's traded the past 2 years at like 700 times earnings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So relative to its own history, it's a discount somehow.
Yeah, we have no idea how this. Do you want to do a fair value estimate for this thing? Do you have any idea? Yeah. Yeah. Does anyone want to do a DCF for this? Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, for those of you that have been to a few meetings, like I've trashed software at most of them.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to own something in that space, this is definitely one of the clear winners over the next decade, in my opinion. So we'll see.
The slide began with Michael Burry's dissing the stock.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on Michael Burry and how relevant he is now, but anyway.
Yeah, but it did have an effect.
Yeah.
Or at least it coincided perfectly, and that's when I got out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a multi-year horizon, this is definitely the right direction.
They're changing the world. I mean, we're leaning towards a surveillance state at some point, like in our country even, and it's their technology that's going to change our civilization. One of them. So, and they're going to branch out into other things. Karp is not going to sit back and let his revenue just do this or this. You know, I got a feeling they're going to be getting involved in other things, militarily and otherwise.
Well, they're getting involved in the commercial side of things. They're helping banks. They're helping healthcare companies. I mean, they're doing everything. Again, we don't know. I mean, has anyone used Palantir technology or has any familiarity with it? Like
I've read about it. So
okay, yeah. So it's one of those things. It's like, yeah,
so they definitely are doing something different than the Anthropic.
Yes.
Right. And there are advantages of that in the long term.
Oh yeah.
But I have no idea how to value the company if you're looking for what happens over the next 3 to 6 months. Like,
right.
So too hard.
I don't think this is like an exaggerated thing to say. I mean, it sounds a little crazy, but I think Palantir was started as like a project to infiltrate the American government. And it's like, yeah. I mean, like in terms of the military intelligence, like it's like vendor lock-in at the highest levels.
Yeah,
where,
it's
like,
a vendor lock-in for sure.
Where like if you read about like, well, I think like on some of the most like recent like memos, like from Alex Karp, there was like this like big like manifesto part, like these people have like very like philosophical like underpinnings for like what they want to do.
Yeah.
And like the name Palantir for like from Token, like the all-seeing stone, like that's in like the mind of like Thiel and like these people who like started Palantir, like they were like very like I mean their first customers were like, you know, like the CIA, and like they essentially have a monopoly over all of this intelligence, like due to the nature of like who the customers are. And like I very much think like the ontology is like part of this play too, to extend themselves into like the commercial space, because like what does it mean to like build the operational like layer like for like your company as like your company brain? Like if you like, you know, use ontology like for your organization, like they see everything that you're doing. And like when using their software and using their layer, right, that means that that's going to be something that's built into your organization. It's like that's another source of like vendor lock-in that's going to be like on like, you know, there's just no way to come back from that.
This generation's Lockheed Skunkworks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or software or something.
Yeah.
However you want to describe it. And of course the whole the Peter Thiel thing, and for those of you who aren't familiar, but here I'm really big on Peter Thiel, and I am like, we even have like rating systems like that we go by that, and also, and I know he's a controversial person, But you know, his book 0 to 1 is probably one of the best startup books ever written, just within the domain of business. That's where we focus. I don't care about like the political stuff. And so just monopoly building, locking in customers, network effects, building the cult, all of that. I mean, that's just how great businesses become humongous mega caps. And therefore, I mean, it works for, you know, those small private startup tech companies, but also applies to pretty much any company. That's how you get a lot of your big blue chips. And hence, a lot of founders fund investments become some of the biggest companies in the world that drive things forward. All right.
We were looking at.
Yeah.
Does Victor, anybody else know? Palantir was using Anthropic, right? They're using Claude primarily to power their systems and to do their surveillance. And
were they?
That was my well, the whole big thing was the Department of War and then Anthropic and Alameda getting kicked out or whatever.
I think Anthropic and Palantir were being used by the government.
Yeah.
Anyone can say they're using.
I believe Palantir can use any model.
Yeah,
I don't think they're locked into the model.
So I think part of the interview was that they're gonna start using NVIDIA Nemotron, or whatever that is. And that's like complete privacy, like no data leakage whatsoever. So that's why I'm curious, when Palantir ran up a little bit, did NVIDIA follow? And people who are invested in Palantir, do you think NVIDIA is gonna run parallel now with that?
Seems like a small blip at most. I mean, this is within the last few days, right? So it has been up since then. I mean, it's bottomed out with the whole. And NVIDIA, I mean.
Yeah. NVIDIA's market cap is just too big.
Yeah. And so you have to think about sizing relative to things. Actually, this was an interesting note, not super related, but some of us went to that whole Automate thing, the robotics thing the other week. And if you notice, and this is just commonplace now, to the point where it's become a little bit like, I don't want to say overused, but everything is partnered with NVIDIA now, powered by NVIDIA. Everyone sort of likes to sell that. And so I'm like, well, okay, at what point, it's like, you know, everyone's a VP at a company now, right? So at what point does that become just oversaturated and such a, like a non-thing? But just saying, everyone's partnered with NVIDIA now. All right. Anything more on the Mythos security, the whole that thing? There's a little bit more. Okay. Anthropic.
I have one question. So this is apparently government regulation risk. Do you see it becomes more widespread, not just US, but also in other continents, other countries?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you see the regulation risk for AI becomes more widespread, say in Europe and in emerging markets? What does that mean for the general AI investment?
I think it's inevitable with any, I mean, you could say, I mean, with any boom in industrial boom historically, what happens is regulations eventually come in. A lot of times they'll just come in because mistakes will just ultimately be made. Nothing's perfect and technologies have to mature. And so I think it's just inevitable. I don't know how exactly it's going to play out, to what extent, but I do think now some countries are probably going to be a little more stringent than others. Some countries are probably going to be less mindful of that on purpose. So it just depends. But I think overall, yes, AI will have to be, it has to be regulated, you know. Obviously there's a non-zero chance it can go Terminator on us and kill us all. And so you gotta, you know, keep that in mind too. So this, yeah. All right.
But I think you can already see this in Europe, but Europe is heavily regulated.
Oh yeah.
The US and China are basically in a, I don't want to say war, but they're in a struggle right now. They're competing heavily, so they're not regulating it. It's because they need to.
They feel, there's a sense of, you know, it's like a Cold War between them. AI Cold War. And so it's now we'll see what happens after midterms, but especially after 2028, you know, if the parties shift, who knows? I don't know. But a lot's going to depend on who's got control, Republicans or Democrats, and then to what degree the regulations will be. But either way, of course, they're going to.
Yeah, I think at least in the US, the regulatory environment is, I don't want to say clear, but it's more It's more clear than it is in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense that in the US, well, let's deal with China first. China is going all out, right?
Yes.
Your
They're not gonna stop.
articles talking about how they're
Yeah.
right trying to grab as much intellectual property
Right.
as they can and advance their technology. And they're doing really well at it.
Yes.
Their robots are what you went to Automates, you saw those robots. If you had done that in China, if you'd gone to a similar show in China, your mind probably would have been blown at how advanced they are.
Yeah.
I've been
And
reading.
even, I think one of the engineers I talked to said, honestly, he thinks, China's in robotics, they're primed to just supercharge, just given their infrastructure and what they have. So, yeah.
So they're not gonna regulate at all, which means in the US, we're probably not gonna regulate for at least 2 years. And
Right.
probably the next administration will do the same. So you're probably looking at 6 years minimum.
All right, so, going into this, again, this is kind of semi-related, but lately there have been things popping up. For example, we talked about super microcomputer and the smuggling scandal. And then we talked about, I think it was a rumor that ASML, that one of their machines may have gotten into China. And now I guess Anthropic says Alibaba is trying to basically just take their stuff and it's some attack. Yeah, so carried out 28.8 million exchanges with its models using thousands of fraudulent accounts. All right, that's pretty impressive. So honestly though, is this surprising? No, this is kind of expected. We were talking about there's just going to be so much incentive for this. And that's why, going back to Gavin Baker, who's like the leading semis analyst who thinks, US is just going to, run away with it. China's going to fall behind because of where we are in the scaling curves. That's why I'm like, well, personally, I kind of disagree with that because I think, China's got the brain talent that they're retaining better. They've got, there's a lot of incentives to get things in there. I wouldn't count them out. I think it's just going to be a 2-horse race the whole way. Does anyone have any thoughts on this though? Specifically this, Alibaba.
Predicted in the thesis.
Yeah, exactly. What do we think about Alibaba's stock? Is this bullish for them?
It's going down a lot.
Beat on.
Yeah.
I've been a long-term holder. I
Oh.
think also my cost base is below this.
It's a cash cow. Yeah.
I think they are a great company. They're a conglomerate, leading heavily into AI. Big thing for China.
Yeah.
So
This thing's been crushed. But yeah. Who has Baba? Yeah, who else has Baba?
BMT.
Yeah.
BMT portfolio.
Baba. All right. Yeah.
Portfolio management team. UIC is long. Yeah.
Oh, I can understand the confusion with the name.
There you go.
They have an LLM, right? I mean, everyone kind of does, but they have an LLM. How has anyone tried their LLM? Not that there's. Okay, Quen, I think.
I have seen it perform though when I was recently in China, and it's pretty nuts. The live translation is really, really good. Better than Claude, better than ChatGPT. It's very quick. I was pretty embarrassed for what I was using on my phone.
Interesting. Hey, I mean, at 235 billion, and then they're still making pretty good money from their existing operations, and then you add that on in the mix, compared to some of these mega giant AI companies we have based here, which are worth 4 trillion maybe or whatever it is, and not nearly the cash flows or earnings or whatever, might be undervalued at this point. Plus, I mean, it's like we could talk about how, like for me, from an investing standpoint, I respect the effort to steal from Anthropic. So I think this is bullish. There's a lot of I'm just saying.
On their models, for open source models, Alibaba is some of the best ones by far.
Yeah.
They're too good to run on a lot of consumer stuff, but for people that have enough GPUs and stuff like that, you want to run a Quen model. There's no open source ChatGPT or anything that gets close to it.
Interesting.
So they're still in the race, but also you can't really make money off of open source models that much.
Yeah. You can make money from open source models if you run cloud service. Alibaba is running cloud service. Yeah.
Have you used Alibaba's models? Anything?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think of them?
Like it's not like how I think about that. I think he's a very capable open source model. Like the example I mentioned earlier, Bridgewaters, they are tuning their internal model based on Alibaba's open source model. So American companies, I think it is one of the most popular models. Like this lady mentioned earlier, NVIDIA just has this new model released. That's NVIDIA's effort trying to match the in the open source model space. Yeah.
Anything else on?
Does anyone know about what's driving the cost of these? Because I've read that the cost of running any of these models is prohibitively expensive, and they're actually just subsidizing it dramatically. So I don't know too much about what's driving that, but I'm curious to know how sustainable. Like, can Anthropic continue to do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
How long can they do that?
That goes with the whole arguments about the CapEx spending and like, to what degree and is it worth it? And what's the value add? We don't know yet. Publicly, we don't know. I think internally, like I've said before, they have some of the smartest people in the world working at these companies. So I'm sure they've done enough internal research where they've figured, okay, there's going to be a huge value add eventually, but we as, people outside of that loop, we can't see it. But it makes you wonder, how much more can they just ramp up all this spending? Especially, I can understand it for Amazon and Meta because they already have good cash flows, at least existing business revenue streams and so forth. But for Anthropic, right? It's just pure startup mode. And so how much can they do it for? I don't know, but they do have the strongest models so far that we know of.
Just to add on to your question about why does it cost so much to run these models, it's because super intelligent models requires a lot of tokens. So as we move forward, these companies will try to invest so much more so that they can actually provide super intelligence on every single person in this room's hands. And that requires a lot of tokens. Right now, it could take 1,000 tokens for a second, right? But in the super intelligent token, where it's smarter than much PhD level people or just every human being, that's going to take millions of tokens, and that's going to take so much compute and a lot of GPUs. And if you read the situational awareness, you're going to understand. I don't think that a lot of these markets are pricing in the fact that we're going to spend so much more CapEx spending, and also the government are going to be investing so much heavily because this is much more than atomic fission level, and this is much more than nuclear level that we found. This is going to be insane growth. I think it's going to be really interesting to see within the next 4 years.
Do you think it's in order to respond to a query, the thinking mode just gets it cranks up as these models get more sophisticated?
Right, because
it's just consuming a lot of CPU.
Yeah, so right now, if you talk to ChatGPT, if you do an instant chat, it produces less or it consumes less tokens than needed. But if you use the thinking mode, it takes so much more tokens. And that is because it's using more intelligence and it's searching more within the system. But if you wanted more intelligent models, if Anthropic is building so much more intelligent models, it will require more intelligence, learning from billions of documents. And that will require so much more tokens, 1 million tokens per second. In order for that to happen, we need to build more data centers, more compute. And in terms of that happening, we're going to see so much insanity within the spendings for all of these countries worldwide. And at that level, when the models become so much smarter than human beings, at that point, we're going to reach AGI and super intelligence, and that's going to increase so much spending, and that's going to drive so much growth for these super semiconductor companies as well. I think it's going to be very exciting.
Just out of curiosity, so do you think that gives companies like Amazon and Google the advantage over the Anthropics of the world? Or do you think Anthropic can still win given this issue of compute?
I personally think a lot of people in this room has different opinions. I know some people here loves hyperscalers, but personally I believe for next 2 years hyperscalers are continuing to want to increase their capex for next 2 years, thus leading these companies in the earnings dates to come down. And I think we're gonna see that more and more, and a lot of governments are gonna be spending more. Obviously, at the end of it all, whoever has the most compute will win it all. I think Amazon and Microsoft and all those companies are very well advantaged. But, you know, at this time of the period, I think AI infrastructure companies are really well positioned to continue to grow.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
And I think you asked the question of like, how do you understand how much it costs? Like, how Anthropic is subsidizing it? And I remember reading this one thing that was pretty interesting and a good way to understand it. A lot of people think that these AI companies are sort of like software, where basically the marginal cost of another customer, another person using the thing is like near zero, compared to like an industrial company where like if you create another car that costs something, so the marginal cost is substantial. These like prompts, they fall somewhere in the middle of that. It doesn't cost anything, like nothing's physically produced, but it still does take like energy. There's a word for it. I think it's like atomization or something like that.
I guess.
So it's like, it's worth something. They definitely have to spend.
Yeah.
It's not like software where you can just snap your fingers and all it costs is like a watt of electricity to get another person using it. But it's definitely drastically less than like a typical industrial company. Is that sort of what you're asking?
Yeah, and that's consistent with what I've been reading, but it seems like there's a lot of debate as to whether companies like Anthropic and even OpenAI can afford to do that as much as the Googles and the Amazons of the world.
They'll find enough people to give them enough money to keep doing that. There's enough people who are like Brian, who understand it, who are willing to.
There's also the government.
Exactly.
I feel like the
the
extent to which they've begun subsidizing AI is still really tiny, and I think that's gonna just blow up over the next decade. Because like we're basically betting our entire economy on AI now, so there's a direct incentive for the U.S. government to subsidize it, and they've done it with every other like general purpose technology in the past 100 years, railroads. Oil is like $700 billion in annual subsidies that the industry gets, and that's been around 150 plus years. So corn.
And this is even more dramatic because they're actually taking equity in Intel and OpenAI, and I don't think that's happened before.
It's
actual
and they're looking at taking stakes in OpenAI and Anthropic. So the incentive for the government to continue the boom, it's probably never been higher.
How much is the government subsidizing the AI so far from what you've been seeing?
I don't know. You'd have to add up like defense contracts, energy subsidies.
I'm thinking to analogize that to how much they give to oil to see how much, like that could be a good way to think about how close, where we are on the curve.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to add on to that. The amount of money that we're going to spend is insane amount, and it's going to be almost I would say up to 30% of the whole GDP. At this point in time, the capex spending of these companies are around 30%. If you think about that, if we look at the conservative model and go for 10% of the GDP, that's insane growth, and we still got so much more to go. And just to note that if we don't invest in AI, or if the government does not invest in AI, China will take over it all. They're coming right up our ass. And if they don't, like just think about it, these AI systems will be so much smarter. Like Fable 5 is already regulated by the country. This algorithmic advancements will be just bought out by these Chinese government. They can just buy out Anthropic and OpenAI employees. I mean, there's going to be regulations about this, but if we don't, they're going to be able to just hack into our checking accounts. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, whatever it is, they're going to be able to just hack our system and then just nuke our whole country if they wanted to. So I think it's going to be very important in terms of defense organization as well.
All right. Anything else on that? We got to keep it going. All right. I know there's a lot of thoughts on this. Very interesting discussion. That's good though. All right. Something quickly, real quick. I mean, TikTok lawsuits. I think we've talked about social media addiction lawsuits before. But just who uses TikTok actively? Raise your hand. Don't be shy.
Just look at it. I look at ads on
I used to be huge on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, and then I had to actually like delete them off my phone to just stop myself from using it.
Yeah.
But short form swiping is definitely.
Right.
I'll say this, if you've got a startup, you better be advertising on TikTok. So, TikTok, Instagram, and depending on the business, of course, the other channels.
And your target audience.
TikTok is huge.
Yep.
Actually, the target audience, from young people to old people, it's actually pretty wide range, surprisingly. And I don't even have a TikTok account, but I monitor the ads specifically related to startups that I'm involved with because they're so big.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're probably going to get more and more of these cases, and like with any industry wave, there's more regulations that come about. And so 3,300 cases pending in California State Court, plus another 2,600 in California Federal Court, brought by individual school districts. Yes, okay. 6 million verdicts. I mean, so like each individual one's probably not a big amount. It's like a drop in the bucket. But again, if they keep piling on, it might signal a need for more regulation and tightening on things because, I mean, the way these, and who knows how their algos are for all this, and not just TikTok, but for Instagram, anyone that does these short form things, I mean, it's like so addicting. And so like, we'll see. It's how technology has shifted versus how the human brain's able to adapt. I think it is becoming an issue. Yes.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, because what I had read was like the biggest issue with these lawsuits isn't people getting paid. Obviously, these companies have basically unlimited money. It's what can potentially be brought out publicly through discovery.
Yes.
And that's what they don't want released through these lawsuits. So what I read is that we'll essentially see a lot more of these get just flat out pay them and get out of the media's eye.
So just a lot of these cases here, several million each time. Okay, but there's like several thousand pending ones. Yeah, so who knows? It's just getting pretty crazy. I mean, that's kind of expected. So I guess this is like, tobacco opioid style. So it's like a drug. Yeah, it's addictive.
I think these companies actually base their the dopamine rush from the slot machines in Vegas.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like actual slot machines. I think they actually use the same type of psychology for it. If I'm not mistaken, I read something about that. So,
Facebook famously hired a bunch of those designers like early on in the days.
There's a really interesting documentary on what Facebook did. It used to be on Netflix, but it talks specifically about that, how they designed it to be addictive by appealing to people's addictive behavior and dopamine rush. It's really
I'm curious, what's the end result of this? Like, is there a cure for this? What's going to be the business angle or the sort of like revert, like,
is there a cure for addiction?
The things to combat this. Like, what's going to be who's going to come up with the solution for all this? Or is it just going to be another one? Yeah.
Or vaping, right?
Just move to the next addiction.
They'll come out with a new sort of Zen.
What's the next Zen?
Yeah, I know some people here know a lot about Zens. So it's just more of the same, I guess. Maybe. Addiction. All right.
I mean, to your point, I think we're going to talk about it soon, but like sports betting and everything, it's exactly the same. And it's all about like the near misses, right? Or the near wins, I guess. Like, especially with sports betting, one little prediction's off, your entire whatever is gone. And so I think that's the new addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, should we just go right? Because I did want to bring that up too. I'm sure, I don't know who watches NBA, but there's been more gambling scandals. There's actually a player from West Virginia too that just got arrested. But Malik Beasley, Ed Davis, kind of bench players, but they were gambling on games, just more the same with that.
All the players are doing it. They just can't go punish Steph Curry. They can't say, we're going to ban you from basketball.
Does he need more money?
It's not about the money. It's about winning.
Some of these athletes, man, and how they manage their finances,
Isn't that like the whole rumor with Michael Jordan that he didn't actually retire the first time? They were like, hey, we caught you gambling on yourself. You gotta step away.
Who knows?
I don't know if
there's a lot of
that. There was a rumor that was a thing. Yeah.
I heard with Malik Beasley, he actually he owed like millions, like he was millions in the hole, like to like teammates and stuff. It was pretty messed up. And Ed Davis was winning. Yeah, so like this is, yeah. I mean, you've seen the Broke documentary, right? Most of these guys go bankrupt. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you made 100 million. All right, so yeah, Terry Rozier, that was one. Ed Davis, yeah, Malik Beasley, Ed Davis. I know there's been clips popping up of Beasley like doing some questionable stuff at the end of games to like, yeah, he racked up millions in gambling debt, borrowed from Davis. They even had like text conversation or like Snapchat conversations leaked between them. Cashing in, yeah. So agreed to fix his performance in multiple games with Davis and others to cash prop bets. Yeah, it's so stupid. Yeah, so just more, and I'm sure they're not. I mean, there's more than there's a lot probably actively doing it. You know, in the NBA and also in college. I mean, Carissa from West Virginia was just arrested. And all this, some $2 million scandal. So again, the athletes are getting in on this. Like that's probably expected with just the rise in sports gambling and just the regulations being loosened for that. So just more of the same, like we've been talking about, everything's turning into just a whole gambling house for everything, markets, sports, whatever, so it's kind of like, it's getting ridiculous. So I don't know.
Yeah, even with Kalshi and the Bali market coming up, it's getting, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You can put your money into anything.
Right.
That just adds on to this whole
Yeah.
effect, the whole blue light effect, and just going. And to add on to the cure talk that you mentioned, I don't think there will be a cure. It's just gonna be almost the next thing, They stopped running ads for tobacco, but there's still tobacco products, and that industry is still very, very alive.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna move on to the next thing.
I don't know if you guys saw in the Discord, but I was running some prompts on our Claude bot, like about, I have a whole thesis, like, hey, with the healthcare trends coming, I mean, is there an angle with like the whole, with gambling and gambling addiction, the rise of like weed or whatever it is, vaping, I don't know, but like, is there sort of a play for like, healthcare, like rehab facilities or mental health facilities? Probably some, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how big, but yeah.
Maybe some of the play is honestly litigation.
Yeah. I mean, so if we start thinking about these second order effects from this, it's like, maybe that's where maybe not a cure, but like, what could profit? What's just naturally going to get more business, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, we'll see. Or maybe, I don't know, there has been some evidence, I think, on GLP-1s. It's not like really FDA, they're testing it for stuff like this for, the same things that might treat weight loss can also treat addictions to certain degrees. So it's early though, but we'll see. So maybe, yeah.
One thing going back to what you said about what's the cure, it's kind of always been the same one. It's no longer economically viable. Like one thing we see with cigarettes is now like the price of a thing of cigarettes is no longer based on the input cost even a little bit. It's based on the tax. So we could see something similar, taxing companies that create short form content, or also taxing companies that like host short form content.
Right. Really depends on who gets elected and who's willing to push it through. But yeah, it could happen. So there's a lot of incentives now to regulate that.
How would you tax a short form company?
I'm not familiar with the structure of the companies themselves, but I'd imagine that there's some type of server hosting it. You could tax the ad revenue. That would be the big one. I know advertising is their biggest revenue stream.
Pritzker's proposing to tax crypto transactions,
which is crazy.
I could also
that doesn't even mean anything.
I could also see a pretty big political incentive for like if people if their campaigns are going poorly, they would try and tax TikTok. Like when no one on TikTok likes Trump, let's say.
Well, what we were talking about last meeting, again, kind of repeating it, but I mean, this is just my sort of hunch, but with Pritzker and his thing, and I've actually started seeing ads more like just showing up on my, like, maybe because we're talking about it, but I think he's just trying to make a play on the presidency. And so he's trying to get his base, aligned more. That's something that's just another thing that's going to be a check mark for his base. So again, buying Pritzker at 1% in Pauling market, not a bad idea, considering who's ahead of him. The Rock, I think, and Hunter Biden. Anyway, more on this gambling stuff. Let me see. We got.
Whoever mentioned Jordan, he's in $1.2 million debt betting on himself right now.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nothing. Oh, 1.2 billion?
Million.
Billion? That's nothing.
Yeah,
That's
I know, but it's just funny.
That's just golf. He's a billionaire, right? Yeah. Yeah, it just depends on Peru. Yeah. Okay. All right. There's more AI. I really want to talk about this pharmaceuticals one, but we can talk about, okay, real quick, the OpenAI chip. So OpenAI came out with their first chip. It's an inference chip. It's called Jalapeno. It's partnered with Broadcom. And so now it's kind of a signal, hey, Broadcom, they're not totally at the whim of Google, maybe, their TPUs branching out. Now, I don't know if this is going to be successful ultimately, but it kind of shows at least OpenAI is making an effort to sort of do other stuff.
Broadcom has standing contracts with Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, and they had something else. The reason they're not so heavily talked about is because they aren't, proportionately, they don't create a very large revenue stream, but their relationship is already open.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who else Broadcom's locked in with besides the main, or yeah, I think Google's a big part of it. We'll see. All right. Okay. Jalapeno, OpenAI's first intelligence processor, yes. Inference, yeah, okay. Less flexible than NVIDIA GPU, cheaper, purpose designed. All right, yeah, reduces the data movement, balances compute memory networking to achieve realized utilization much closer to theoretical peak. Right thing to attack since data movement rather than raw flops is a binding constraint in inference. Broadcom's Tomahawk networking silicon carries a platform to production scale. Celestica, yeah, Celestica is also involved in this. I think they are publicly traded. Let me just check real quick. Yes, CLS.
I feel every now and then we have this news about customized chip for inference.
Yes.
Happens through many companies. So in the end, say if we have some successful players, how much would that change the landscape? Would they threaten the monopoly of NVIDIA at this point?
Probably not anytime soon.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest takeaway.
Yeah. The question is, how much of a signal is it that they're willing to sort of try to vertically integrate or build their own ecosystem with this? And at least, within the next few years, it probably doesn't make much difference. Doesn't move the needle, but we'll see. Although historically, I think the chip tech, it's so hard. I mean, I know NVIDIA took a while to get this down, and I don't know enough about the inference, but I think Cerebras even, that was a whole 20-year type of struggle for them. So it's this is not something I think you can just dive in and get it right very quickly. This kind of hardware problem, but who knows, I don't know if Sam Altman has something up his sleeve here or not, or maybe they're just desperate. It's hard to tell, but we'll see what they do with this, and then to what degree they try to scale with this. But yeah, no one's gonna disrupt NVIDIA's monopoly anytime soon. All right, so all right, but for Broadcom, maybe it's something. But yeah,
I wouldn't write it off as nothing for OpenAI.
Right.
One thing we really, we don't see a lot of vertical integration in terms of AI, period, right now. And that's because it's still an emerging market. We've talked a lot about looking for AI winners, and we've talked about the strength of the model. We've talked about the type of funding they're getting, the type of connection. We haven't dove much into the vertical integration, and that's because it's not competitive yet. There's very little. So I think this is actually a huge deal. It may not signal a move in the stock price, but it may signal that we're moving out of the era we've been in, where this might be the next form of competition for the big AI players.
Yeah. And also, who knows if and again, we don't know how things will scale, but if they're able to design this on using codecs or whatever, some advanced AI tech, and they can just do things faster and sort of figuring out how to make this really good, then who knows? Just like, that's why you can't rule out quantum computing either, even though I'm not huge on it, but like, it's like, if things get designed on this AI framework and how it scales, Al, did you want to?
I just researched it a little bit. That jalapeno chip only really works for OpenAI stuff specifically. Like, it wouldn't really even work for Claude. And it's just it just seems more of a vertical integration.
Right.
The only thing that it kind of affects is Cerebras, because they have a big OpenAI deal. And if they just start using jalapeno instead of Cerebras, that might be meaningful. But also, it's two different architectures. It does two different parts of the inference thing. So it shouldn't it's not like a massive bear case for Cerebras.
Well, that's just falling in general, but yeah, again, this is something where negative book value. Yeah, so this is just hyper speculative. I don't know what you bought it though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're part of the selling compute, right? The access compute, that's what they do.
This is the inference, the fastest inference chip,
okay.
I think, right?
They got that really big wafer, so they put all the stuff on that one big wafer.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, the other company that does vertical integral is Apple. So they haven't been fully recognized yet, but all this stuff is vertical integrated.
Yeah, that's really going to be like, if you want to be worth your weight as a big tech AI company in the future, you pretty much have to do all your own stuff, and it's why I understand, you see what Elon's doing with his whole ecosystem, even though they don't really have the money to show for it yet, but the moves kind of make sense. But yeah, everyone's
I think Elon Musk has already achieved 80% of vertical integration, and all he needs to do is just keep on adding on to his stack. Like, he has, power clusters, like trillion-dollar clusters, as well as these models. You got cars, you got robots.
Yeah.
All those satellites, and I think that's basically a vertical integration. He has such an advantage.
Yeah.
He merges with SpaceX.
From a business positioning standpoint, I don't think anyone's close. It's just a matter of now they got to get some revenue coming in, So it's a wait and see. But again, giant startup mode. All right. Anything more on that? Okay. So here's an interesting story, and this is kind of like going into the whole, the future of AI and biotech. And I don't know how many of you saw this, but so there's this guy. He's a computational biologist, Harvard PhD, Douglas Yao, and he's pretty well vetted. He's followed by a lot of bio people who I feel like are dialed in that I follow. And he claims he's made an Alzheimer's drug in his garage, basically just using AI. And I think he did outsource some of the stuff to labs, but more or less just a one-person operation. And a lot of people are, they kind of seem to be vetting it. Now, I'll say this, in biotech, Alzheimer's is historically the impossible thing. And again, I think at most, I did dig into a little bit of this, but let's dig into it again. I don't think this is a cure, but it might, maybe if it goes through rigorous FDA testing, maybe it has a chance to be something that could slow the progression, I think.
Yeah, I heard some similar news stories, basically saying like people are trying to use AI to find solutions, treatments for real disease. Some of them even had successes. I think the question is, how would you make that for investment opportunities? In the last 1 or 2 years, the big firms, they seem to struggle a lot, laid out lots of people.
You should DM them on or on Twitter and say you need money.
Yeah.
Well, $1 million bucks.
All right, so he claims, all right, he used AI to design several thousand molecules, taught himself synthetic chemistry, built a garage lab, synthesized 100. This guy is like the real life Walter White, an illegal drug, right? Produced PAC 832, which he calls the world's first selective small molecule GAL-R1 antagonist. Sub-micromolar potency, blah, 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 30 times selectivity over GAL-R. Okay, so a lot of, very biochem stuff. Okay, did it in mice? Yes. So the question is, maybe it showed something in mice. Now, does that translate to humans? Yeah. It's not crankery. Domain expert would recognize every reference. Yeah, it's an overstatement. Invented an Alzheimer's drug. He has a preclinical hit with mouse data, behavioral data. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
The AI just switched to Opus.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no big deal. Is it really going to be that? Is it that horrible? Yeah. All right.
I think it's because of the prompt though, right?
The what?
Switch because you're asking about biochem related content.
Oh,
That's
stable, not allowed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you click on Y, it might pop up with that message that shows you.
Sorry, I would have triggered a nuclear explosion.
Yeah. Biology is one of those things. Where
Flag this message. Safeguards are intentionally broad right now and may flag. All right. So we know there's some really powerful stuff here. All right, got it. Interesting. Wow.
Well, we're hearing about the Alzheimer's drug that this guy made. We're not hearing about the bad drugs that people are making or the bad diseases they might have been able to already make. So you're not going to put that on X.
Right. Well, this is the guy doing something. Could be Walter White,
How to make bioweapons in my garage.
Yeah.
We all know what snake oil is, right?
Yeah.
This is mouse oil. Until proven otherwise.
Okay, so what's the success rate of going from mouse data to human in this particular domain? Sorry for the typo, we'll correct it, it's a little test. Right question to isolate, blah, 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 okay. Alzheimer's is close to the worst case domain for mouse to human translation, okay. All right, it says, okay, one of the highest failure rates, study of 244 compounds across 413 trials, 2002 to 2012, found only one approved, 99.6% failure rate versus 81% for cancer. Okay. Has been confirmed repeatedly. Okay. So why though? Trials that already started, he's upstream of that. Okay. Okay, yeah. Phase 1, yes. Phase 1, is it safe to use? Sure. Neurology is the worst category. Okay. Preclinical mouse behavioral rescue. Okay. Work somewhere. Okay. Yeah. A fraction of 1%. Okay. Yeah. This is a long shot, obviously. Mouse models don't model disease. Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay. A mouse has no amyloid, no tau, no neurodegeneration, no aging, none of the actual biology of human Alzheimer's. Historically, drugs that rescue cognition in these acute pharmacological models routinely show nothing in human Alzheimer's patients because you're treating a temporary chemical blockade, not a 20-year neurodegenerative process. Okay, so yeah, it's basically doesn't mean anything yet. That's pretty much the bottom line. So it might do something for mice, but this is not, yeah, you're just going to have to try it on humans and see. and again, this is gonna take a while. The whole FDA process can take years, and then now we're talking about a guy from his garage. I mean, I'm sure he has at least the contacts given his background. And I'm sure someone will probably throw money his way, maybe some seed funding or whatever. So it's like, is this a moonshot worth betting on? That could be, but like, yeah, this is tricky. But I do think it's an interesting angle he's taking by going so viral, like going public on Twitter about it, and then it's kind of going viral. It's like the new whole attention is the new currency aspect, and so it's kind of like he's getting some vetting there, and then the fact that certain people, like in bio, have kind of like said, "Hey, this kind of checks out." Then there's some social proof there, so maybe that could get him something. But again, it's a long shot.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, as this gentleman mentioned, if this guy did it in his garage using AI, like I'm sure there's a place somewhere where, like, a big pharma, like
right,
a big medical company, has also, kind of leveraged AI, or like where's like I guess where are the big players that are doing something similar to this? Because if he could do it in his garage, like any of us could have realistically done it if we spent the time doing it. So these companies with a crazy amount of resources and time and researchers and knowledge, what are they doing?
Eli Lilly is like the leader right now in
Oh, yeah?
Alzheimer's, yeah. But they don't have something that like blocks the memory loss. It's more so just like slowing down cognitive decline. So yeah, that's a good question. I'm curious, what have they done? What have they researched?
So
I said it before and I say again, the healthcare market, if you want to invest, all you have to do is just invest in big pharma. Whatever it is in the pharmaceutical or health side, like all the people or the companies who has the money will win it all, because the R&D, a lot of the time to do an R&D and go through FDA is tremendous amount of time. It takes so much effort and a lot of smart people. One person cannot just technically do this. They need to join the team or the big pharmas in order for them to grow. This guy is probably going to get bought out by the big pharmas, or he's going to get bought out with his technologies. He's going to sell them and try to go build a new thing. But the important thing here is that when the superintelligence and AGI comes and 100,000 of AI researchers are able to just research this patterns of these genomics and also these cells, we're going to have so much incredible amount of information that these big pharmas can actually pour so much money into, that Eli Lilly and all these different Novo Nordisk can build these manufacturing facilities as well as different intelligence systems. They're going to win it all, and that's not a question. But I think in terms of like increasing the human life expectancy, I think that is just a matter of time, because these AI researchers by itself will automatically find the solution. The turtles and the sharks can live up to 300 years if they wanted to. The humans are, life expectancy is around 80 years old or 120 years old at this point. Like, when we're going to die, it's probably going to be around 120. But if we find this genomic solutions and also cell regression solutions, we can live a lot longer, up to 300 years if we wanted to. I think that's just a matter of time.
All right, so just to keep us, on the, anyone else? Sorry.
Well, I think the big news is in particular the Alzheimer's, right? Because earlier what Claude is saying is he's just replicating what's already been done since the 1990s.
Yes.
Like the question is like being able to do this at such a local scale.
Right.
And I think the point, rather than like making this in a drug and like bringing it through the FDA, is actually to circumvent the FDA. Like what happens when like anyone can manufacture like drugs like in their home to help treat their disease, right? There was a similar news I think about maybe a year ago now, that like some guy like fixed his dog's cancer by like using AI as well. Yeah. And like I think it's very reminiscent of like, I don't even know about does anyone know about the Odin? It's like this group of people who are trying to like make like commercial like gene editing kits. And like they're like a bunch, like it's part of the biohacking movement where people are like trying to like edit their own genes. Like it's felt like the Odin, like the god, like yeah.
I want to talk, well, the case about
Right.
the dog cancer and
Yeah.
guy who went viral on Twitter. This is like in Australia or something, right? Something like that.
Yeah, but I think the Odin they sell like CRISPR kits, and like I think one of like I think of like a case study that I think makes a lot of sense is like if like you know you can figure out how to like make insulin by like doing CRISPR on like E. coli growing at home, like which like seems like something that you could probably do.
So I guess the whole thing is like yeah, so this particular guy, Douglas, it's like, I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, the data is not good. Like companies have tried, they've never gotten past phase 1, et cetera. But it's like, could this be a signal of something down the line, especially with AI now? Because we talk about there's potential for like, maybe, I don't know about in bio, but in general, yes, in theory, maybe you could have a solo run $1 trillion company someday. It sounds crazy, but like, you know, what people can do. And so, okay, so I'll just talk about this because this case went viral too. All right, so Paul Kanyam, okay, yeah, he was a Sydney-based data scientist, machine learning engineer, okay, no bio background. His rescue Sharpei, Rosie, his dog, diagnosed with mast cell cancer in 2024. Chemo slowed, didn't shrink the tumors. Vets estimated 1 to 6 months. He refused the prognosis, built a research pipeline out of consumer AI tools. Spent 3,000 sequenced Rosie's healthy and tumor DNA at University of New South Wales, I think. Used ChatGPT to plan, AlphaFold to model a mutated c-Kit protein, well-documented driver of canine mast cell tumors, and Grok for candidate filtering. Ultimately went to the personalized mRNA neoantigen vaccine route, co-administered with an immune checkpoint inhibitor. UNSW researchers call it the first personalized cancer vaccine ever designed for a dog. It went viral in March 2026 after OpenAI's Greg Brockman amplified it, yes. The results, the reports of a cure are overstated, including by the guy himself. One tumor shrank by roughly half. Another tumor didn't respond. The team was sequencing that one to design a second vaccine. Rosie is alive and improved, but still here and improving is not cured. All right, so, but the fact that he was able to do this, like, or at least make some headway just using ChatGPT, whatever. That's pretty insane, right? So it's like, imagine with future models and how much better they could be, what we could do with drug development or some kind of, stuff. So again, we're going to see more cases like this. I think these are like data points. We'll see more cases like this. And then who knows, maybe someone does have a serious breakthrough where they solve something like that.
Can I add something into that too?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, maybe a bit off topic, but I remember like when COVID, that was like 7 years ago, or I think 6 years ago when COVID was like really big and it was like the race for the vaccine, right? I've been like, you hear all these cases. I mean, it's similar to like this situation at hand where they're trying to leverage like the vaccine to like essentially make it. I think it was like, I remember it was like Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson and like there was other big pharma companies that were trying to like, rush to make a vaccine to get it all rolled out, right? And then there was like all these claims going online, like minoxidil, like saying how that was supposed to be what's called effective way to treat COVID, right? But apparently fact checking like caused it to like say it's not true. But the point is how like there was like a race for the COVID vaccine and how like there was like a big monopoly behind it too, where they're trying to like, leverage their way in to like essentially profit off like the vaccine. So
yeah,
that's like it's similar to like what's going on.
Yes, and so it's like. Probably, and they didn't really have AI back then like we do now, but there's efforts to develop, especially when you have a global pandemic, then there's probably a lot of incentive to try. But, again, I think it's just interesting, and we can nitpick or dive into the individual cases, and likely we're at a stage where it's not really like, we're not finding any super crazy cures, but like this is just, like I say, it's a trend.
Well, I just want to add on this case just a little bit. The reason why he was able to cure the dog's cancer is not because of ChatGPT's model's capabilities. I mean, he has questions on how to solve it, but the reason why he was able to solve it was the AlphaFold. AlphaFold project is made by the Google. Demesis had this, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but there's a documentary called The Thinking Game, the YouTube, that is really the good documentary I've ever seen in my life. But this guy just created this algorithmic programming or AI system where it can predict the protein folding.
Right.
If you're able to predict the protein folding, you're able to basically be able to find out the whole protein in this world. You're going to be able to cure individuals. And I think like people, you mentioned about like what could happen if these AI models get so smart to the point that it could create biohacking or just like very bad disease. There's a lot of concerns of these companies right now, Anthropic and OpenAI, obviously a lot of United States government. But what they're going to try to build is the good guys. They're going to try to build a good organization that are going to stop the bad guys. So the good guys will have the models, better models, in order to protect from bad boys.
I think the main idea though is that like AI is, so it's not like it's like AI accelerated the whole process, or kind of like maybe it helped him do something that he wouldn't have otherwise been able to do if this were like 5-10 years ago, and it may have taken him exponentially longer. I think that's the whole thing. Like it says, AI is a genuine accelerant for a skilled human, not a, like so. And I think that's the whole thing with AI, like what we can use it for. It's productivity and booster and time saver. That's the value of it. Into things that we already, you still have to use your domain knowledge or use critical thinking, but that's the value out of the AI. So again, yeah. So we'll get into, and of course, there's going to be positives and negatives that come out of any sort of scaling, and I'm sure that applies to the biospace as well. So does anyone have more thoughts on this? Because we still got to keep going. Yes.
The only thing I'd say is just, I think there's a lot I don't understand about AI, but I could see a world where there's 1,000 different data scientists around the world. They're all trying to cure their pet's cancer.
Yep.
Right? And we hear about it's a selection problem. Right?
Yes.
We hear about the one guy that kind of maybe shrunk one of the tumors, or maybe the tumor shrunk at the same time, coincidentally. So that's not to say that AI isn't going to be transforming everything that we're going to do.
Right.
But the idea of like, oh, I cured Alzheimer's in my garage.
Yeah.
The skeptic in me, all my alarm bells go off.
Yes.
Doesn't mean we shouldn't keep an eye on it, but if we have limited attention, Palantir and the other discussions.
Yeah, and so this is
fruit to bear.
Stories like this will obviously grab the headlines and go viral because it's a good story and et cetera. But yeah, we have to stay balanced about this type of stuff. But I do think we'll see more cases and more obviously outlier stories. But who knows? Maybe a breakthrough. So yeah, we'll see. It's interesting to know. All right.
I mean, this is decided on AlphaFold since we've been talking about it.
Okay, yeah.
But like, I feel like one of the things that like, one of the things are not like that it definitely is like pretty amazing what they've been able to do. But like, there's an important caveat. Like, there are two important caveats to AlphaFold. One is that like, it does not actually predict protein function. It only predicts protein structure. Which like means that like, okay, they can know what a protein might look like given the sequence, and they can build a thing with a given structure, but like they can't predict what that thing does because the interactions are like very unpredictable. And the second thing is because AlphaFold was trained on something called the protein like data bank, which is like a set of like proteins that were like painfully like stitched together with like X-ray crystallography over like decades, like researchers' lifetimes basically. That like it only because it's trained on stuff that's been like well studied, like it doesn't predict mutants, which is why I think maybe in one of the things with Claude when it brought up like that example of the dog, like didn't eventually like the thing with AlphaFold didn't work because they were looking at something that was mutated. And like I think like going to the skeptic comment, like I think those are things that like you hear about AlphaFold, and like I think everyone's excited, like okay, we can build like custom proteins, but like if you look closer into like what AlphaFold actually does, like it's like it's like incredibly helpful tool, but like it clearly is like a long way to go from like being like an actual solution to building.
Yeah. All right. We gotta move on. Great points, great discussion. All right, next topic. Yeah, if you guys are gonna go, feel free. I mean, you know, I know the World Cup game is starting. And, yeah. We can put the game on. You know, it's fine. All right, so this is an interesting headline. I don't know if it's really gonna. We'll see what it does in the future, but the FAA is trying to sort of loosen the regulations so that we can maybe bring back supersonic passenger flight. Ever since the Concorde went out of business, and so I guess what is it? They got rid of. It's a real proposal. Revising noise-based certification standards for supersonic aircraft. Okay. All right. Basically, it's okay. It would sound more like a car door slamming than an explosive gun blast. I mean, they're trying to just okay, you can do sonic booms over land, basically. And really, I mean, I don't think any company is going to bring this back anytime soon, but there are some startups, most notably Boom Supersonic, which has been trying. They even had like a test flight with like a 1/3 size model plane, which I guess was successful, but again, 1/3 size of what they meant. And then I looked into them on the Discord and the CloudBot, and it seems like they're also pivoting to ground-based turbines for AI data centers. Trying to be like a Bloom Energy type. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how serious. I think the supersonic thing might get abandoned, honestly. But okay. All right, so okay, possibly enables low supersonic speeds, possibly up to Mach 1.3, not Concorde era Mach 2. All right. First step, not even legalization. All right, there's a bunch of other stuff, landing and takeoff noise, yeah. All right, so someone wants to do a supersonic startup, yeah. Boom, Blake Scholl was euphoric, calling it even though it seems like, I don't know if they're gonna keep going with this. All right. Yeah. Anyone have thoughts on this? Anyone have thoughts on supersonic flight in general?
It's cool.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Is it?
Some Larry Nelson type guy is probably gonna back some company like this just because he wants it.
Yeah, somewhere out there, like someone's willing to throw money at this, but like, is it economically viable? Like
maybe Ronaldo after he retires soon.
Can you ask a question? Is it going to be able to do a cargo transportation instead of just passengers? Because I think if it does the cargo transportation, it's going to increase a lot of economic value.
Depends on the cost. I mean, I think just in terms of like how much it consumes, the fuel, and then I don't know, I know the issue, this is like hyper supersonic stuff, but I know the issue with like the Blackbird is like every time we would do a flight, the actual body would sort of be altered like to a molecular level of it. Like it's just very stressful from a material standpoint. So the cost just does not really justify. Okay, cargo is arguably the worst position use case. Yeah. Intuitively should work, yeah, because freight tolerates no, okay, doesn't need comfort, yeah, premium, yeah. So basically what supersonic flight would be for is like super rich people willing to pay up insane amounts to just fly 3 hours over the Atlantic or something, right? You need demand, like you need enough to, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I think for cargo, it's not, yeah, just not economically there. If anything, supersonic flight's probably just it's like a luxury thing.
Are there any sustainability hurdles they still have to get over, or was the main thing just noise?
I mean, if you're going supersonic, you're like, in terms of like environmentally friendly, like that's like the opposite of, I'm just saying.
No, I know, but like, is there anything that's gonna stop these from existence?
Like, how do you mean from a sustainability angle? Like theoretically it's possible, but like, are there like regulations? I don't know.
EPA stuff or something.
Yeah, some EPA stuff. I mean, it could be. I'm sure. Yeah, whatever's left of it. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes.
I will do it
So yeah, there's just all kinds of issues. The noise, the cost. Okay, now you got the environmental stuff. Landing, takeoff noise. Yeah, noise in airports or in takeoff. I know Concorde was like really loud or something. That was an issue for them. Yeah, engine emissions. Yes. Far more fuel, run hotter. Yeah. So it's just bad for the environment in general. Really bad. Basically, the only way you overcome this is you get someone willing to pay like a ridiculous amount for a seat. You know. All right, yeah. So this just seems like something where, okay, maybe it's good for a headline, but I don't know, business wise, investing wise, I don't think anything can really come of this unless you're such a believer in boom supersonic. But again, they're even pivoting to ground turbines. So yeah.
I think it'll still find a niche, high-end market.
People
pay for Ferraris, like they're gonna pay for this.
I think it'll find people willing to invest and throw money at this and see what happens. So if you want to play the hot potato VC game, maybe. I don't know. All right. Okay, there's some more stuff before we can do all right, real quick. Okay, this is not a big money one. Okay, robotic hand startup settles lawsuit with Tesla, raises 11 million. Hand's one of the biggest issues because we want to automate, and that's what I noticed. Like largely the biggest issue with humanoids, and this is why it's actually good. I think because we're talking about like being skeptical about like technology developments and stuff. It's good to just see things in person for what they really are. And I know there's a lot of hype on humanoids, but like. I want to automate. I'm like, look, I know humanoids, they're probably going to be big, but like the hands, no one's got the hands figured out, not even close. Like the dexterity, the fine motor stuff, like that's like next level stuff. And it's important, not even close. So it's going to be a while, I think. But again, that doesn't mean robotic stocks are going to pop off. They could very well start going. So yeah, and this is an interesting example. So I guess Tesla was suing this company, or this guy came from Tesla Optimus. Okay. Yeah, so it kind of shows Tesla's probably right on top of this tech though. They know the hand's an issue. I think even Elon's mentioned this publicly. So just shows maybe if there's a bottleneck coming up, it's going to be in the hand. So something to keep an eye on. But anyone have thoughts on this? No.
In addition to hands, a lot of lasers and the eyes of the robots are going to be important, and also the torque, which Tesla has a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think if you want to put a robotics option, I think CCXI is one of the options that are already implemented within Amazon. It's a good play.
So,
but it's very hyper speculative right now.
Yeah, and I know it's being pumped by Serenity or this new pumper who has 1 million followers now. But
I personally think we still got time to go. To be honest, I'm not personally investing in robotics yet.
This is a trade. So this is a trade.
Yeah.
This is just like, I mean, because I played Churchill SPACs before, and these are obvious money grabs. No one's come out of this except maybe Oklo, which is still hyper speculative, but every Churchill SPAC has declined like 80-90% since, because I played Lucid when it was CCIV. And that was the 4th one. This is the 9th one now, or the 11th one, CCXI. So this guy, Michael Klein, just, he issues these SPACs, he cashes out, he has a little investment privately, and then publicly it, pumps from its $10 floor. I mean, we can go into it, but the insiders, the SPAC issuers get paid, retail's left holding the bag. This is probably, I looked at Agility Robotics. They don't have their founder anymore. The CEO is in place probably to engineer some kind of buyout, not a tech focused person. Everything to me screams red flag, money grab, but that doesn't mean this thing could pump to like 50, which it very well could, just on the hype alone. That's why I'm like, you know, as trading, there could be trading angle, there could be a lot of momentum for this still. So, but again, 3 years from now, this is probably like, you know, in the single digits, you know, so.
Well, just to mention, like, also addition to this conversation, semiconductors are 10 times much more needed in these robotics.
Yeah.
So semiconductors demand is absolutely just going to be continuously going. And continuing with your agility robotics, I don't think that has a lot of technology in it. So robotics, I think we still got time to go, but the winner will be Tesla, I think, or Unitree from China.
Yeah. What was the one, AMBA, that we were looking at?
AMBA and
yeah, Buster and AMBA.
Oust. OUST.
Yeah, so there's some of these.
Say something about this. I think like off what Peter Toe says, being early is the same thing as being wrong. And I think we're still too early. I think AMBA, I mean, you put money into AMBA and you forget about it, you lock it in a crate and you put it on the ground, come back 10 years later, you'll have a lot of money. But I think you gotta use that money now. And I'm always thinking like, what's gonna be the point where it is the time? And I'm pointing, my brain is pointing to like, when AGI comes around, I think that will be a good inflection point to buy a bunch of these robotic stocks when they will actually be like pre-pump sort of thing.
Yeah, so I know that Citrini, who's for better or worse, is getting a lot of support. Kind of the new Ray Dalio, in my opinion. Take that for what I think. Okay, it's worth. But Citrini has sort of been pushing robots lately, robot stocks. And again, it's one of those things where I think, like I said, the actual tech, we're early. I think we're too early. But the stock, speculative, like when you think about speculative investing, maybe it is time to at least have a little bit in.
Is it going to turn into
because
Oklo?
Again, stocks are forward looking. And so like, again, I think we're too early for Oklo, but then it pumped a lot. It's still kind of up there. And so like, when you think of it from that angle, even though that means you're going to have to throw every valuation justification or argument out the window, it's not going to matter, or it's just going to be irrelevant. You're just going to have to, because it's going to be pre-revenue for a while. Yeah, so it's just, it's like, are you willing to just take a stab in the dark on incomplete information? And again, Oklo's fault, and this is likely what's going to happen with the robotics too, you know, especially in the early stages. Like you're going to get some crazy pump and then you're going to get some crazy drawdowns. So are you willing to stomach those drawdowns for a while until the actual stuff comes in?
What about investing in like when AI first started getting going, I got into like Caterpillar, because Caterpillar sells like the heavy machine to build data centers.
Yeah.
But they also build the generators that data centers are using.
Right.
So for the
gangbusters.
robotics angle, I was looking at like what kind of the hardware is involved in robotics and looking at like who makes actuators, who are those companies, the more tangible items in the robotics play.
Excuse my spelling there. All right.
So I know most of them are like out of Tokyo, and you know, unless you're trading on the Tokyo exchange, but some of the ones I was able to get, SMC Corp, which is an ADR.
SMC Corp, is this trading on the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange?
Yes.
Summit Midstream Corp?
NASDAQ.
This one?
Yes.
Not Super Microcomputer.
No. Well, I don't want to talk about that one anymore.
Oh. Wait, did you sell out?
No.
It's just been
hit zero a couple times.
Midstream isn't
that's the one I'm
midstream?
looking
Yeah,
at.
that sounds like an oil and gas or something. Well, I asked Claude. Okay. Harmonic Drive Systems, Japan, RBC Bearings, RBC RRX, Parker Hannifin PH, SMC Corp, that's Japan. Yeah.
Japan.
Okay. So RBC, RRX, okay.
But they have an ADR.
That trades
Yeah.
in US
And
exchange.
it trades on the OTC though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not gonna show up on FinViz,
Okay.
but I mean, if you look on Yahoo Finance, if you wanna look up OTCs that are like not the penny trash, but the sort of just foreign companies, there's two types of OTCs. Legit ones that are just foreign companies that are trying to bypass some regulatory stuff that, you know, like Honda, whatever might trade, or Nintendo might trade OTC, and that's fine. Or Xiaomi, you know, Chinese company. But then the ones you want to avoid are like the penny stocks and the sub ones, obvious scams. This is Summit Midstream. That's okay. Is it this?
SMCAY, I think
Yeah,
it's that
there
one.
we go.
There you go.
All right.
Problem when you don't have like, I'll call it like a legitimate ADR, is that the spreads are just insane.
Yeah.
So these things like are just super illiquid. Like SK Hynix has one that trades on the OTC.
This is
Obviously, they have like a
$30 billion company though,
Yeah.
if this is right.
like yeah, it's not like a Taiwan semi ADR.
Yeah.
Or like the SK Hynix ADR that's gonna launch on July 11th, where they're trading on a major exchange now, and there's actual volume.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you can do these sort of larger, more established, you know, tech companies that maybe like second order plays for the whole robot thing. Okay. The eyes, see, like we mentioned, CGNX. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. I mean, not bad. Mid cap size, not horrible financials. Okay, even pays a little dividend. Interesting. All right, so some of these mid caps that are like decently capitalized, maybe. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna play that whole angle again, you're just dealing with. You're expecting the multiples to just expand on these things. You're not doing it from a value perspective. You're just going by, hey, just there's going to be mass buying for the robot wave. Like that's what you're trying to anticipate with this. So as long as you're okay with that, then all right, you know. And again, some of these Twitter people that with massive followings, like if you buy into the whole Chris Camillo social arbitrage or social, you know, information asymmetry angle, then you should be dialed into this. And if they are pumping it, like if Citrini's pumping this or talking about it, then probably worth giving it a look. So again, all speculation. It's what you're willing to risk.
Does he name any companies?
I'm not subscribed to him, but like he just says it's coming, you know. So, okay, Teradyne, TER. He mentioned CER. All right, and I think he's big on Amazon. All right, Teradyne. This has already been going, but again, that's the thing. It's not about where they've been. It's about where they're going. So don't worry about it. Yeah. You're just gonna have to be okay with the fact that it's run up several 100% already to $60 billion company trading at kind of elevated multiples. But you know, he's big on it. So, and the whole Amazon robotics angle too. Yeah. Yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be humanoids. It can be just limbs. It can be just, you know, there's a lot of use cases for just, you know, basic, more historically established robot type things. So, yeah.
We saw a whole bunch of companies that automate, that are doing conveyor type stuff.
And that's more of how it's been.
Warehousing.
Yeah, there's just more need for that anyway. I mean, if we're gonna, again, think about all the all of the just the build outs we're gonna do with everything, how we're gonna scale things, there's gonna be more need for that stuff anyway. So you can see a lot more of the same. So yeah. All right. Anything more on robotics? Okay. Should we? Okay. Okay. One last thing. Okay. Well, there's Meta getting into prediction markets. Interesting. We can talk about this since so many of us hold iron. So recently, there's been some moves made lately, which have not been, I don't know, they've been kind of interesting. they signed a deal with the Golden State Warriors for, the jersey, the patch on the jerseys. So I guess now it's going to be iron on the Warriors jerseys going forward, starting next year. I don't know why a NeoCloud third-party data center company needs to advertise on an NBA jersey, but maybe it's for attention, etc.
Francisco.
Yeah, just to get the Bay Area crowd like into it and throw money at it. But like,
How much did they pay for that?
50 million a year.
Yeah, 50 million a year. It's like
It's one of the biggest in history.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, it kind of throws some questions into like,
dividend.
Are they they've been diluting a lot. Are they using this money properly? And then to add on to this, this is the bigger thing, which is more of an issue, and this has actually caused a lot of iron bulls to just sell out. The RSUs, and so they did a deal where the founders, the co-CEO brothers, are going to get several $100 million, almost $1 billion overall through 2031, I think. And yeah, 5% of outstanding shares, valued at $700 million cumulatively. Okay.
Do they have to meet specific criteria in order for that to actually get?
There's no pricing targets or anything. That's why a lot of people are pissed off about this.
Yeah, there's been no language that's been released
Yeah.
that says that there's like certain like metrics they have to hit.
Right. And that's why it's like, what is going on here? Because it's like, they seem to have a lead on like their positioning. And maybe they still, here's the thing. This is why you have to like, you can't be emotionally attached to what you hold. You got to just, if the thesis changes, if management starts doing stupid things or things that are questionable, you really got to just, you cannot keep drinking the Kool-Aid forever. You don't know how they're going to execute over time. And again, this is not, I'm not going to say this is not like, okay, it's not like, oh, this is horrible and this means they're screwed, but it means we need to look at this more closely because this is not really the characteristic behavior of like a company that sort of grows into a mega cap that pushes the world forward. Usually these incentive things these things are based on incentives, right? There's like a target, right? Some achievable thing. This is just them paying themselves or locking it up. And I know they're not going to like do another one until after 2031, but still, it's not a good look. And so I've seen some arguments trying to, do some mental gymnastics to justify it on Twitter, but like, I'm like, they didn't need to pay themselves this much, like this kind of goes against the whole Peter Thiel thing. So this is not a good look. Then again, I would say there's so much demand for compute. And I do believe in the Aschenbrenner thesis to the point where there's so much demand that I don't think it's going to matter. But like, and so that they'll still get their second humongous deal. They have the first one with Microsoft. They could get like an Anthropic, et cetera. But it really makes you wonder, it's like, how do these guys really care that much? I don't know. And because they've done a lot of capital raises lately that have been dragging the stock. Yeah.
Are you still bullish on that $240 price target for the next, will be like 2 years, 1 year from now?
I mean, at this point, I never really believed in DCFs or people's like price target. I know people have been throwing that out there. I think, look, the demand's there for us to get some kind of run to that still. And maybe after all, the sentiment's at like an all-time low and people have sold out. And if anything, they popped back today to the 40s on the Anthropic leaks about Australian data center stuff. And, who knows? It just shows the demand's still there. So that's all you can go off of. But again, they need to start getting some deals. Meanwhile, Nebius, who's like their sort of rival, has been just securing more deals and getting more stuff. But their stock's been taking off. Although at this point, as much as it sounds bad, like I would still be holding Iron over Nebius just from a stock go up perspective, even though I'm pretty annoyed by what Iron's been doing lately. And there's a certain person who, I'm not going to name names, but there's a certain guy who's been very vocal on Twitter, who's on the board of Iron, who needs to get kicked off probably. But, it's kind of annoying. So there's just some things that need to be addressed here. And that's why I'm like, look, so this is kind of like, okay, if we see any more of this stuff, it's like probably time to think about selling. This just gets too stupid. But for now, it's like, this is about the limit. This is about the limit here.
I asked Claude today to tell me what the social profiles and business reputations of the two brothers are known in the public. It didn't have anything, no scandals or anything.
Yeah, I mean, they have an infrastructure background in Australia and all that. And
I just wonder if there's, you know, in the business world, if people just hate these two guys.
No, I think, again, from how they've positioned themselves, like, no doubt they're gonna, like, big techs are gonna want to do deals with them. Then again, it's kind of annoying when you see, like, now SpaceX has become a giant neo cloud provider. Then we saw the whole Meta news, right? I think what does help is NVIDIA is willing to do some revenue sharing. So it's just all this stuff, but yeah, you wonder why they haven't gotten a second deal, like, since now last year now. And I did see something, and this is a rumor, so this has nothing, this is not something we can confirm, but in one of these, there's these people who's like really dialed in, who wrote like a Substack, and I am subscribed to their Substack. They said, and this does not sit well with me, but one of the brothers, I guess, one of his big goals is to be like the richest person in Australia. And I'm like, if that's your freaking goal, like if that's one of your things, like that's just not a good sign. You know, I've seen that before, like the richest person in Greece, you know, it was the dry ships guy. And that was like the biggest freaking dilution scam in history. And he was, I mean, he's a smart guy. He even blatantly said, someone even asked him straight up, why are you doing it? It's like, because Americans are the dumbest investors on the planet. He just straight up said that. But like, so again, it makes you wonder, are the incentives really aligned here? I don't know. But like, if that's true, and that's a rumor again, but if that's true, I'm like, okay, that's just not a good sign. That sounds like a megalomaniac rather than someone who's actually trying to build something. Like, but again, even if he is that crazy and ridiculous, like just because of the compute demand, I think I'm
Also,
still
like
bullish.
reaching kind of low. Like, why not just be the richest person in the world?
Yeah,
Australia. That's where you stop.
You know,
Elon's got it.
Who knows?
If you're gonna have an ego, you may as well have an ego.
It's just historically, anytime someone, and again, that's a rumor, but like anytime someone's been like, I want to be the richest person, but like this is not going to work. It's just like there was a guy, I forget, it was a Brazilian billionaire guy, and one of the, I don't know if it was Petrobras, it was one of these sort of oil and gas. It was like so leveraged, and his whole he was explicit about it. He's like, I'm going to be the richest person in the world. Like he was so dead on, like that was his goal. I'm like, okay, great. Well, you actually have to like provide, you have to like build like a really valuable company, you know, like you can't just leverage yourself to the gills. And of course, then that market turned and it crashed to like nothing and went bankrupt. But so there's some, call it yellow flags, red flags here. So this is, we'll see. But again, the positives still probably outweigh the negatives, but I'm going to be very like, you got to watch management really closely now. Like you really have to pay attention to them. Like if they do any more moves like this, it's just not a good sign.
I'll chime in.
Yeah.
We've seen them raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
We have the $5 billion ATM that's still not closed.
Right.
We don't know where they are on that, but they've come a significant way because the market cap is a lot larger today than it was last time the stock was at $45. They also had what was it, a $2 billion offering in the meantime, like a month ago?
Yeah, to expand their compute capacity, right?
So they acquired a company in Australia, they acquired a company in Spain, they now have 5 gigawatts of secured power capacity. They're years off of realizing that, even a year off realizing a gigawatt at least. But they also just acquired the marketing firm that handled all of their marketing and other companies as well.
Right.
I find this very curious because it's, this is a design firm that's doing business for a bunch of other companies. They've fully acquired it. Now the employees of that company are working as Iron employees with marketing Iron as their full-time job. Again, it begs the question of, Well, who are they marketing to? Is it retail?
Right.
You know, is it consumers like us? Well, we're not consumers for them.
Yeah.
We are in terms of their stock. You know, we'll buy their stock. But seeing this sponsoring the Golden State Warriors as really their first big move, it's curious because that's not talent.
It's questionable.
That's not like pure marketing.
And historically, it's a mixed bag on those types of sports things. Like we know about the FTX and the Heat Arena. That was actually too, you know, at least FTX was dealing with like customers of the, not like business customers, people. But like another big case was Enron Field. You know, that's where the Houston Astros used to play, Enron Field, and that was like the peak Enron. So it's like it's not. If anything, there's probably data like once you're out there in the sports teams, like that's kind of your peak and sort of your hype. I don't know, but I'm like, yeah, why spend $50 million a year? And again, I know that they can afford to, I guess, especially if they raise, but like, why spend it on something like that? You know,
right? But there's also SoFi.
Yeah, but SoFi is like catering to like
they're consumer based.
Consumers, yeah. Iron's just trying to get like a Microsoft. They have a Microsoft. They're trying to get like an Anthropic partner with them. So why are you advertising like on the Warriors jerseys for this? That's I'm wondering.
Unless it's like their favorite team, someone in Anthropic's favorite team or something.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of questions here, but still.
If they keep raising money, that is our sign. That's the red flag.
Yeah. If we see more dilution, if we see more moves like this, it's like, okay, it's time to just bail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I think sentiment's now at like an all-time low. So at this point, from a just hold like stock perspective, it's okay just because it's been beaten up and it's been stagnant. But like, yeah, it would be really, really annoying if, say, like AI does scale, compute does go crazy, and then you see like Nebius and CoreWeave keep taking off, and then Iron just kind of like keep stagnating just because the management's greedy, you know.
Even Cypher has been going off like crazy.
CIFR.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's like historically been like the second Bitcoin miner turned AI data center provider. I mean, everyone's kind of running the headwinds lately, but yeah, they're not doing stuff like this. So
CoreWeave too, right?
Yeah, and CoreWeave's more established.
Yeah.
Hasn't been doing too hot.
Yeah.
No.
And again, they're running into some debt, like.
Well, I read that they're the most exposed, like with having like a mega cap like Meta come into the neo cloud space and start eating their lunch like that.
Yeah. So
Soluna, SLMH.
Top dogs, monopoly.
There's these like micro cap. Their CEO's been making some more waves on Twitter. I've seen. Yeah. You can also go with these like trailer park data center companies. I don't know. It's just on a stock pump perspective. Like you can take that angle too. But again, it's one of those things where the wave is so big. I think they all benefit, but in terms of actual execution, yeah, I think it's kind of coming out who's better at executing or who's at least not being like greedy about it versus others. And so it's kind of disappointing to see what Iron's been doing lately, with all this going on. All right, 7:32. Yeah, so we got through that. I think, should we do a real quick lightning round? Then we can just wrap it up. We can watch the World Cup, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're on track to finish up around half times right now.
What's the score?
It's 1-1. US score.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who are they facing against today?
Wow.
Belgium?
All right.
I will say, side note, before we go into the lightning round, if any of you guys are watching a World Cup game, just pull up like Kalshi or Polymarket. Because it's so fun watching this market.
Yeah, it's like a stock trade.
With everything. So I was watching the Brazil game yesterday, and obviously they get fouled in the box, so it's a penalty kick. And they go from like a 60% chance to a 90% chance of winning. And then they miss the kick, and then it just collapsed back to like a 55% chance. And I'm like, if you're just like trading this thing as the game's going, I'm like, you can probably
That's not a lot.
skim a couple
Why is
dollars.
Belgium going up?
They just made a second goal.
They just you see like Spain.
Are you serious?
If you ever see Spain and Portugal, I think they're playing against each other today too.
They already finished.
Spain 1-0 with 90+1. Are they?
Oh, Belgium's, okay, well.
Score it again, yeah.
Yep, there it is, yep. This is pretty quick. I mean, you're not gonna find any inefficiencies here, and, you know, can't jump ahead of that. All right, but yeah.
Oh,
Alright.
yeah.
All right, this looks like a relative bottom, right? Should we buy the dip on United States? Is the RSI at all-time lows now?
Well,
Yeah.
going into the game, our YouTube stream said 75% would win USA.
Oh.
So we'll see.
It sounds pretty biased.
75% USA. No way.
Oh, we'll see. All right, so it's time to slam US, right? All right. Okay, lightning round. Let's do lightning round. All right. Who wants to go? Who's got a stock they want to talk about?
Did we talk about Intel today?
We haven't. We can talk about it.
We did?
We have not.
Oh, okay.
But we have talked plenty about AI infrastructure though. So
Yeah, I won't go too much into it because I know we talked about. But Nancy Pelosi just disclosed her trades. It's Intel's calls and as well as Uber calls. I was just wondering if you guys think. I personally think Intel is a good company going forward because the Trump administration has mentioned that by the end of his term, 50% of the semiconductor chips, like his plan is he's going to have 50% of semiconductor chips made within the United States. And I think Intel is a great company to invest in if you believe in his agenda. And also like Micron can be a good company since they're based on the United States.
I figure Intel's probably been pricing this in. And like
It's a Micron based in Taiwan.
Micron is in the United States.
Oh no, I was thinking something else.
TSMC is Taiwan.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Never mind.
So Intel as a company, I think is still kind of in turnaround mode. But again, prices are forward looking. And so from a speculative angle and then the government stake and, you know, all the floodgates opening for it, it's run quite a bit. Now, I think at this point, now they can just do secondaries, raise whatever cash and probably figure it out. But again, the market cap here, 600 billion. So you're not going to get like earth shattering growth out of this versus say like a mid cap. But
I personally think it got room to grow. Like my thesis is that demand, like you mentioned, demand is going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
What Goldman Sachs is expecting by CapEx, expecting by 2030 is $5.5 trillion accumulated, not by year. What Leopoldo has mentioned is the $8 trillion by 2030 was super intelligence. And that $8 trillion alone in the year, and that is not pricing in by the market as it currently. And I think if that actually happens, I don't personally think 8 trillion could happen, but if you could reach $4 trillion by a yearly, I think that's an insane growth for these semiconductor.
A lot of companies are going to have market share on that. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't know the value. Like this is, again, it's based on forward-looking speculation, but in terms of the deals that have been made, the government stake, just how things are aligned, I think it's still wide open for them. And so I think it's fine to be bullish on Intel still at this point. I think probably at this point, probably gets over $1 trillion for sure. But we'll see. All right, anything else? Yeah.
I'm really bringing my transportation background in here, but what about UP and Norfolk Southern potential merger?
Union Pacific
and Norfolk Southern.
Okay.
Union Pacific being the main party that would be buying NS.
Okay, so that's 167 billion, decently capitalized it looks like, and then Norfolk, okay.
In a world of semi-monopolies, they would be the biggest if the merger is allowed to go through, and they've been actively courting the Trump administration.
So together this would be over 200, like this would be like, by far the biggest railroad monopoly thing. And I mean, I don't think the Trump administration would block this, right? I mean, there might be some performative stuff, but I think this would go through, right?
Well, so that's been the big topic is everybody thought it would glide through. And then on the advising panels that the government does have, it does seem like they have a lot of allies. But the issue being that now the rest of the railroads have really, really, really amped up their opposition to it. BNSF for one, has really been trying to rally the rest of the industry around against it. And many of them have also been, in turn, especially with 250 happening, been making big shows to the government, to the Trump administration of their place in the industry so that they can kind of win out in the lobbying efforts. And so at this point in time, most industry insiders are saying it's a flip of the coin, honestly. Everybody thought it would coast, but now it's looking up in the air.
Let's see if Claude can do a probability analysis, because I'm just going to see what AI comes up with this for this, because I'm not an expert in this, but
Can you answer what are the margins like? Gentlemen.
Second.
Asking to you. What's your name?
John.
John, sorry. Oh, can you answer, like you say your transportation background? I just want to like question you. I guess ask your question. What are the margins of like how are the business of that transportation business ran? Like what is the potential impact of this? Like how are these businesses making money?
Well, how are the railroads making money?
Yeah, like I guess that's my question generally. Like how are these businesses general foundation? How do they make margins? How do they make money from it? Or is this like potential monopoly? How is this going to impact the whole?
Oh, 100%. This would be a potential monopoly. It would be a railroad reaching from coast to coast, which currently does not exist. You can ship things from coast to coast, but you have to use multiple rail operators. And there's a big few massive railroads who are typically playing in this field, and those are two of the biggest. And the rest of the large railroads would basically be squeezed out, especially considering that now that they don't have to use their tracks at all. They don't have to collaborate, or at least not as much, to reach most of the country. And the railroads, even though it might not seem as active in everybody's everyday lives, they move a large portion of the things that, honestly, just anything you receive in America, whether it's from the grocery supply chain to whatever you're ordering on Amazon, things like that.
Just to go back to this, you said 50-50. I mean, AI is not too far off that. It's basically like a 60-40, within the same ballpark. So there's a decent chance this could fail or get delayed, or, so this is not a gimme, that's for sure.
Yeah, because the Surface Transportation Board has started kind of waffling a bit.
Interesting.
They said that they got when it came to their first approval, they were very curt and just said like they met the standards, and that was it. I don't know if the summary talks about that at all. That's where they're talking about the SDOT.
Merger coalition includes BNSF, CPKC. Let me just see if some of these other rival companies.
But even if they merge, it's not really going to affect the stock price that much. Historically, mergers don't really do anything to stock's price.
Well, the acquiring company's stock generally goes down.
Yeah. Yes.
Do they make trains or do they just make railroads?
Both. They're typically not. They're typically using the trains that they make, but they own the railroad, so they're the operator. So if something is shipped, it is like you are paying Norfolk Southern or UP or BNSF to move it.
So do you see any investment opportunity on the train making companies?
Yeah, potentially. I'd say also it depends on you might see the like downstream market effects on those who are shipping using their tracks. Might affect generally agricultural fields, which it could either, depending on how pricing goes, raise or lower. I would say honestly probably raise prices because they have more ability to charge a much higher price for those who are using the tracks.
I'm assuming if the merger goes through, the steel companies would go up because the railroads are made out of steels.
I don't know if they're planning on laying that much new track, so I'd say I don't want to make a call on that one. I know that a lot of what they're doing would be rerouting and things like that to accomplish this.
When you brought this up, it reminded me of Union Pacific's first attempt at a merger with Southern Pacific. And I just looked it up, and that was a huge catastrophe for them. So what are they doing different this time, do you know?
I think it's a more favorable environment, honestly. I don't know much else that they're doing differently per se.
Okay.
All right, so I asked like, what are some potential second order effects or what other stocks could somehow benefit from this if it did go through? It says there could be a defensive counter merger between like, other players like CSX and BNSF, which is owned by Berkshire apparently. So let's see here. Okay, yeah. And maybe they've been kind of, who knows why they've been increasing, but could be in anticipation of something like that. Okay, so that's something to watch. All right. Direct beneficiary is the intermodal marketing logistics layer that books rail capacity. Hub Group. Is this a stock? I don't know why this font gets all weird. Okay.
That is an interesting sector. I didn't even think of that. A lot of the logistics, yeah.
2.8 billion market cap. This is okay. Now we're talking here, where it gets fun. Small mid cap beneficiary. This is where you can get some stock run out of this whole thing. And then JB Hunt Trucking Company. Their business is deeply tied to rail partners. Is the other obvious one. JBHT. Let's see here. Oh, they've been moving. 26 billion cap. I like this Hub G though. Okay, so that came out of this whole conversation. That's good. All right. So yeah, with any of these deals, like again, and you know about the real world. I don't, but like it's like, and now we have AI, but we can ask, hey, who's going to benefit from this? Who are the other players that kind of indirectly benefit? Like at smaller players, I might see something. So apparently this Hub G, yeah. Okay. Interesting. They've endorsed it. So this is like kind of like if it goes through, this is like their thing. All right. Interesting. All right. That's something to keep an eye on here.
Yeah, I will say, actually, like 2 weeks ago, I saw it in person, a lot of the effects of the opposition to the merger because the Round Maritime Summit was at the Union League Club, and a lot of the short lines as well were out there, but BNSF, one of the main sponsors, spoke quite directly or as directly as they can about it, and a lot of the short lines were there as well.
I'm just asking you, who's going to benefit if this fails? Because there is like a decent chance it fails too. Yeah, Union Pacific, interesting. The acquirer, because the acquirer, okay, because it stops overpaying and de-risks. Yeah. So why are they? Yeah. All right. Norfolk Southern, the loser, but with a cash cushion. Okay. All right. Big players. CSX, yeah, some of the competition, immediate relief. BNSF, well, it's by Berkshire, not so much there. All right. CPKC, what is this? Is this a small player? Okay. Who are positioned to gain? Okay, they lose the tailwind. All right. Okay, so if it fails, it's not. I think stock-wise, it doesn't like impact a whole lot, but if it goes through, then maybe this Hub G or JB Hunt or something could be something to look at. All right. Okay, we got to keep it. Anyone else with a stock?
I have
Okay, Victor,
quick one.
Yeah.
ICE, Intercontinental Exchange. They own a portion of Polymarket. And they're the, let me make sure I get this right.
Clearing.
They're the exclusive global distributor of Polymarket's data to institutional investors. So if you believe in the thesis that these prediction markets are valuable, because when you get a bunch of people together, that data is accurate in predicting things, then this is a good way to play that. So this is founder CEO. I mean, his big thing was he did this with, mortgage data, bond data, oil data. Like that's how they built up ICE into what it is today. So it's essentially his big bet on how to redo that and take advantage of this new market that's been created.
Is Polymarket planning on going to IPO, or is this like a pre-IPO play? Do you think?
I assume it'll IPO at some point in time.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
So
like
they'll get a bump from the actual increase in valuation as well, but the actual value that ICE has is
Okay.
that they have exclusive rights to sell that data.
Yeah,
Poly
it's
market.
kind of like how Sport Radar does a lot of stuff for the betting.
Exactly.
Companies,
And so
yeah.
the stock's been just pummeled with most financials have been year to date.
Right.
So trade's cheap in my
Cash flow
opinion.
now, yeah.
Pays a nice dividend, a safer thing you can kind of throw into your portfolio that has some nice upside.
Right.
If this
The
thesis
whole
plays out.
gambling, yeah, prediction
Yeah.
market angle. I
So
think that's going to grow. Yes.
yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah. The only, I mean, yeah, I don't see it's going to be one of those. At this point, I guess defensive born stock, but solid.
Yeah.
Solid. And even if there's regulation stuff with the, prediction markets, which I think there will be, but still, I think they're just prediction markets. I think are the future. They're primed to grow.
Yeah. So kind of just I'm trying to get away from like the super high beta,
Yes.
AI stuff as
Yeah.
I like sell winners. So this is
Right.
one, and another quick one, CLH, Clear Harbors.
Just a second. Do you know why it's been going down since the beginning of this year?
I mean, that's just been like across all the exchanges. Like if you look up all their stocks, like they've all just been trending down. I mean, they're not really first or second order beneficiaries of AI. So the market has kind of just been moving money out of that sector into other areas.
Just a rotation thing.
Yeah, you can see this like with big healthcare names too. Outside like of a few names, the broader like sectors are just down on the year. Or Clean Harbor, sorry, that's what it is. This is waste management.
Okay.
This is an interesting one because they essentially do all the kind of waste associated to data centers. So all that like tech waste, batteries, like the actual cooling fluids, the water that needs to get like taken out of these data centers and recycled. Like they do all of that. And so it's an interesting angle where as there's more data centers and as every 2 to 3 years, they essentially need their tech and infrastructure refreshed to stay up to date. They essentially, that's like new business for them to like essentially recycle all the old components of the data center. But there's an interesting upside where if the AI thesis slows down, like the build out of data centers slows down, and there's unused data centers that need to be converted into something else, they would also benefit from the decommissioning of those data centers.
Interesting.
So there's upside if the thesis slows down.
Okay.
So kind of play both sides.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was an interesting one I found.
Data centers, build out or get scrapped. It doesn't matter. That's a good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a toll booth business, right?
Yeah. And kind of another boring thing, falls into waste management, industrials.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, this one's done pretty well year to date. So obviously some people are seeing the opportunity here. But I think from a valuation perspective, it's not crazy extended. I think there's a good amount of upside if you want something a little bit different than like your pure direct data center plays like a Vertiv or even what like Caterpillar or CMI are doing. Like
Waste management, some overlap maybe. Okay, adjacent competitors, not direct competitors. Okay.
Yeah. And they don't do like your typical waste management, like consumer garbage and recycling and that. They're specific to this area of like tech. I don't know,
I just need to look at
recycling.
the fast destruction they're talking about. Okay. Sorry.
So it works both ways. Even if the data center boom continues to just accelerate, obviously that's good for them. Every 2 to 3 years, like again, they need to recycle all these components, batteries, all the inner workings of the data center.
So their big thing is this sort of forever chemicals and how they can handle them. So that's, let's see, not directly related to data centers. So, saying, okay, but it's still important. Someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
I just want to see. Okay. Just to make sure. That's what you had, right? Okay.
That's it, yeah.
Quinn?
Yeah, back to the high beta AI.
The fun stuff, yes?
Yeah, fun stuff. Oracle has been getting absolutely shat on, and I want to talk about that. I don't have any particular insight other than it's at its lowest price to earnings multiple in 5 years. It's back down where it was early 2026. We know that they are kind of at the forefront of this CoreWeave story that we were talking about earlier today, of them being so heavily exposed and leveraged. But then again, is this a good time? So I just wanted to talk about this available time.
I mean, yeah, like, I'm more about like not looking at the charts as much, but just from a sentiment like this has been beaten down like crazy. I don't know the whole stuff with they're part of the whole Stargate thing, right? That's their thing. I don't know.
I talked about this last week when you were not here.
Yeah, well, you were bearish on them, right?
Yeah, I consider Oracle as a hyperscaler because when I looked at them, the amount of the neoclouds that they have to give out to their suppliers or just their customers is bigger than their market cap, which is insane. I mean, like that's crazy leverage that they need to have in order for these. And I think, as I said before, hyperscalers, they're going to spend more and more money just to get those neoclouds coming in for them. But so I think in the earnings season, we're going to see a lot of those hyperscalers going down.
Just to go back to Victor's thing with CLH, he doesn't think the data center angle is that strong for it. Then again, who knows? I think just with any industrial thing, data center come into play.
Asking specifically about like the data center upgrade cycle.
What about it?
Just like when they need to replace things, like, and all that old tech gets recycled. Like I was under the impression that was these guys.
Is that the right framing? Data center recycling, should I say? I have no clue. Okay, going back to Oracle. Sorry, I'm trying to wrap this all up, but like, okay, so I don't know. Are you still bearish on Oracle, Brian? Sorry, I kind of was.
Yeah, I think for the next 2 years, hyperscalers, I'm bearish unless they provide just insane amount of AI model.
Right, because they're the ones that are spending
the money.
Yes.
And I think it's going to continue to increase.
Yeah.
Than expected.
The question is, has the stock price set in? Because stocks are forward looking.
That's true.
Saying, like, has it priced this in already? I mean, this thing's crashed from a high of what, 350 almost to like, and then, obviously who knows what like value metrics and like AI, like, I don't know if anything applies anymore, but they got money, I guess. They got more money than SpaceX. Like, okay.
I don't think it's a bad company, but I just think there are better ways to play this AI revolution.
Yeah.
It's a waste of capital not going into semiconductors or AI infrastructures.
So I think if you think the sentiment's basically crashed, like if the sentiment's at like an all-time low, kind of like with iron, it's like, yeah, it sucks and everything sucks about it right now, but like, well, has it been priced in now? Al, what do you want?
I have something to close us off on.
Okay.
Everything else.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say something real quick about the CLH, and we can dive more into this in the Discord. But this broke it down like the 3 waves of data center waste generation. Wave 1, post-construction chemical commissioning. So basically, like the internal cooling loops, like all that needs to be flushed.
Yes.
Before you actually get it up and running. So they deal with the like getting rid of that like toxic liquid waste. That's like a part of that. Wave 2, liquid cooling and thermal management turnover. So these fluids degrade over time. This kind of puts it on like a 3-year cycle where they need to be flushed out, replaced, and then put back in. And then wave 3, hardware refresh super cycle. So e-waste or backup power. So decommissioning of like.
Does it tie CLH directly into that though?
Yeah. Okay. It says the CLH capture.
Which AI are you using?
I did this on Gemini originally, but then a bit of it is in the.
Claude's not buying this. I don't know.
It's in the Claude prompts. In the Discord too.
All right. Sorry, we got it. Okay. Yeah. Oracle again. Either you like it or you don't. You think sentiment's bottomed out or it hasn't. Okay, Al. Yes.
I don't know how many people have heard the thesis of how Micron is a cyclical business, and that's a lot of the rhetoric that I've heard of why the stock price is not going to keep going up, and that's what a lot of bears on Twitter are saying. And I want to know what the people in this room think about that, if they think that's kind of BS. I have my own opinions. What do you guys think?
It is bullshit. It is bullshit.
Well, okay, I know you're, I know
The semiconductor market just changed after the Micron earnings. They announced STAs or something. It's called, it's not cyclical anymore. Semiconductors demand is so high that they changed the price, fixed price for the next 5 years. And if the companies like Microsoft signs an agreement with them for $100 billion, they're going to buy a semiconductor. They need to pay that even though they don't get it. So for the next 5 years, these companies are going to continue to increase.
I should say cyclical is not mean seasonal, because I was tripped up on this a little bit too. I was thinking they meant like, oh, like every October the prices of memory is gonna be lower because consumers don't want to buy it. And I thought that was BS. Cyclical means that they like have this big multi-year period that nobody can really perfectly predict, where they build out so much because they lose money if they don't build more than the other companies. And then the demand starts to fall after those few years. And then they have too much stuff built up for this stuff. So they can't reap as much of the profit that they were expecting to, and so the price starts to drop off. That's the cyclical. Is that what I was tripped up on that myself.
I was researching some semiconductors companies, especially Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. And Samsung and SK Hynix, I'm Korean, so I'm able to kind of do more research on them. But the reason why there's only 3 big companies left on the semiconductor DRAM in the industry is because of the fact that there's so much competitors, and these 3 companies are putting down the prices so that they can, kill all the other DRAM companies. And obviously they got skewed because of that. But I think in terms of like long-term growth, the demand is still going to be there. Like those older computer DRAMs are still going to be in need because those can also run the smaller models. The smaller models are going to be needed, and that's going to be used by us, not the institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Those can be used by us, and the demand is going to, like if you look at the situational awareness, he's saying that in 2028 there could be slower demand in the data centers. But in terms of what's going to happen with the superintelligence and AGI, that's the execution part, and I think that depends on the execution part. If the SGI happens faster than we expected, who knows? The demand is always going to be there.
I appreciate it, Brian. I agree with you.
I just want to
bear
okay.
case.
So again, this whole thing, like, you could debate this for hours. There's no, like, again, this is all sentiment based and everyone's opinion. Gavin Baker himself is kind of like the whole memory cycle is a little played out. He's still bullish on it, but not like, you're not going to get the crazy returns. I kind of generally agree. Then again, I just looked up how much did Qualcomm go up during the .com bubble, and I know it's not the perfect proxy or comparison, but like that thing ran up almost 3,000%. Micron's done, I don't know, several 100% at least, maybe, like, I don't know. And we have nothing to really gauge this off of. We don't know. But again, stocks tend to overshoot. That's what I'm saying. So like, you think Micron's crazy right now? Like, don't underestimate it going to 5,000 or 10,000, like dead serious. It could get that insane. Like, I don't know. Again, we're still holding it. I don't think anything about the thesis has changed, but like, these are things that you could argue for hours. Like, we are not going to know until 5 years from now. Even then, we might not know. So like, either you're still bullish on the thesis or you're not. Are you bullish on the thesis or not?
I just want to hear some bearish standpoints.
Okay, who's bearish on memory? Who thinks like, or who's bearish on AI? Who thinks AI is a scam? Okay. Okay, who can provide like some like, hey, let's like be a little bit like, just like with robotics, let's kind of like,
I think the bearish standpoint is that these hyperscalers and the model making companies like Anthropic and ChatGPT companies are not able to create superintelligence and AGI by the time the hyperscalers are spending so much money. But if it's not performing as we expected, that's what happens. That's when AI trades absolutely go blaze. But I don't think it's happening. Fable 5 is going absolutely insane. It's getting regulated.
Right. So far what we've seen, demand is still going up through the roof. There's no slowdown in demand. I mean, even the latest leak, like, we could talk about how much iron's been annoying, but even the leaks like, oh, Anthropic's trying to do build outs in Australia now, even though it's just like, it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And so like, here's what I think. Until we see any, and we mentioned this, like when we were talking about the circular financing stuff and all this, until we see a slowdown in the expectation, like just any slowdown, any little slowdown or a hint that things might like, okay, it's just a slowdown in like the guidance or whatever it might be.
Earnings.
Yeah, guidance, revenue. This is not, earnings are going to come. So you got to focus on revenue guidance. If there's a slowdown there, like below expectations, that's your first signal. That's when stocks immediately are just going to, so that's what you have to pay attention for. But so far, it's just beat and raise, beat and raise, beat and raise across the board, and it's probably going to be like that for a while. And again, this is contingent on us, like people still have to build for the future, right? So this is contingent on people like executing and all that. And that's the great unknown. But I mean, I think it is saying something if these, and again, part of it's based out of like, okay, we got to compete, but also I think there is plenty of internal research that we don't have access to. Then again, if you're dialed into some places like semi-analysis, I don't know if you guys read semi-analysis, Dylan Patel's thing, and he's kind of connected to like Aschenbrenner, and I think they've even this is like even more bullish for me. They've been caught, again, I'm not blaming anyone anything here, but there's been accusations of them using insider info for some of their research reports, which have been very bullish. And like, I'm like, well, if anything, that means you should listen to them even more. Just like you should listen to Aschenbrenner because, hey, his wife's at Anthropic, like these connections matter. And they're hyper bullish on all this. So I don't see any reason to like just, I mean, with our portfolio, at least we're positioned reasonably well. We got some hedging. We're not fully on, like we have AI exposure, but we're not going like all in on this thing, because there's going to be drawdowns, of course, like even, and with Qualcomm, like they had plenty of 50% type drawdowns along the way in their mega run during the bubble. So like, it's going to be crazy regardless. You just have to be positioned well. So, yeah. Do you want to say something? Or?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of irony here because, like, I think the outcome that people are chasing that's fueling these valuations, right, is the promise of AGI.
Yeah.
But when AGI comes, like, I think if it does, like, I think that'll actually be catastrophic. Like, and I think it'll, like, Brian's very bullish on this sort of fantastical opportunities that AGI.
You gotta be optimistic about the future.
Well, I think so, but I think so. So there's like this whole movement that's like around effective altruism and people who are like AI safety. I don't know like how if people are like plugged into like this space, but like there's like this organization called like 80,000 hours, which is like the average amount of time that a person will spend like on their career, and like before like 2023, like the organization was focused on like a lot of different existential risks, but then like now like in the past year like everything has been about AI.
Yeah.
And I think like I've had the opportunity to meet some people at like an AI safety conference. Like I think these are like pretty young people from all around the country in some AI labs at Berkeley, which is one of the big places for that. And like I've met people who have dropped out of school because they think we're going to die in like 3 years. And I think there was a Forbes article on someone that I've met. And I think that's what like AGI means, right? Like when you get an intelligence that like we cannot control, like the paperclip factory is just kind of like the base case scenario where like you over optimize for one thing, and that ends up like reducing people to slavery or worse. But like I think it is true, like we don't understand, like there's no moral framework behind the intelligences that we are like right now. I think the approach is to like create these harnesses that are just like prompt instructions, right? Like and there's like this thing with like ChatGPT where it's like one of the instructions like don't talk about goblins, right? Like the reason why they put that in there is because that's just like please, like it's like please don't do this.
Yeah.
And like the please don't do this is not like a very strong safeguard against like against misalignment. And so like I think like it's an irony because like obviously we want to create something so powerful, that's what's fueling all of this. But then when that day comes, like like it's just like, whoa, like I think the infrastructure, like just like everyone's bank accounts, for example, like
Gone.
So, all right, we'll wrap it up, but like, I'll say this, any industrial boom has always had sort of similar, it's like, there's been some parallels with stuff like that, and people were like, oh, we're screwed. Usually, I think it's probably good to bet on humanity and us figuring things out, because we tend to do figure things out. But it's also good to keep in mind that growth is not like a straight line. It's not like a smooth curve or whatever it is. And we're going to make mistakes, and there's going to be a lot of like stuff that happens. There's going to be plenty of market crashes. It's not going to just be one. It's like we're going to see plenty of drawdowns. We're going to see plenty of issues that pop up. Lots of regulations are going to be needed, and we're just going to have to figure it out as we go. It's not like the fun answer where it's like, oh yeah, everything's great. Yeah, but it's always an in between. And so it's up to us to figure things out. But I think we've tended to figure things out, because otherwise, what else is there? Like, why even bother living if we're, it's like you got to be kind of optimistic about things. But at the same time, it's good to be mindful of all the risks. And yes, this stuff is getting so powerful, and how it's scaling. It's like we've never seen tech scale like this before, right? Like you talk about like the whole Tim Urban article and the jump from like, 50,000 years ago to like 2,000 years ago. It's like, well, the jumps we're seeing every month are greater than that, this exponential, and a lot of people are bad at grasping exponential growth. And so now we're headed into this great unknown with exponential growth. So it's going to get insane. I would say, I think we'll figure things out, but who knows? But it's probably good to be optimistic and just be mindful. We're going to run into a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of volatility regardless. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. It's 8:10. I'm glad so many of you stayed and missed the World Cup. What's the score?
2-1, second half just started.
Okay. So we're going to go meet for dinner and drinks downstairs in the 4th floor. You're welcome to come, and we can watch the rest of the game.
Show of hands who's coming, so I know how many seats to get. Most of us?
Yes, everybody's coming. Let's go. All right.